Under in TNEJ, we have a center for excellence in emerging technology, and we have some of the best brains available in Tamil Nadu work for us. And this has been developed in-house. It has reached 5 lakh farmers. They are able to click a picture and upload it into the system. The system diagnoses the disease or the pest and sends a remedy. This is working on 2 crops and 3 pests right now. But as we build up our database, I think that was one of the biggest challenge we had. We didn't have strong enough database. Slowly we are building it up. We will expand it as we go along. The chatbot I talked about is already there, and few other proposed projects we were working on. They are in implementation pipeline. I think I'm going to skip this part. The need for blockchain, again, there is, again, on inclusion, I had written an article which was published in a knowledge portal of Wharton. It is called Knowledge at Wharton, and here is the link. You can see knowledge.wharton.upin.edu, or you can just search for inclusive public policies. If you just search for inclusive public policies, Wharton, or my name, I think it should pop up on the first page itself somewhere. I would recommend that people interested in inclusive policies and technology read this and let me know what your thoughts are. And that is where I had actually argued why blockchains are important, because they reduce the burden of proof. And this burden of proof of documentation is very asymmetrically placed between well-off section of the society and not so well-off section of the society. So keeping everything digital, making it accessible whenever they need, wherever they go. And remember, the people who are in the lower strata of the society, they have to migrate very frequently. And we saw this during this epidemic. How many migrants had to move from one state to go back to their state? I mean, the whole country was in a migratory crisis. And I think when people move, when the families move, they tend to lose a lot of data, a lot of documents. And I think blockchain offers that solution where you can actually take this burden out of the population which is vulnerable. I think these are challenges of blockchain. Again, I'm going to skip this right now. I'll also tell you what the landscape of blockchain in India is. There is, of course, some of the very clear use cases which have emerged over the last couple of years, globally as well as within India. If you look at the NITI's Blockchain India strategy and MITI, both of them have brought out their strategy. I would again recommend that people interested in blockchain do read it. One of the areas they have identified is education diplomas, which is essentially degrees and certificates. Then pharmaceuticals, so tracking and curbing the practice of fake pharmaceutical drugs getting into the supply chain. Am I on time? Am I running late? Gayatri?
You can take 5 more minutes, Mr. Mishra.
Okay.
And we
so
can
I will,
questions.
right. Sure. So then I'll kind of rush through and maybe talk about the policies which we just released. These are the use cases. I think it's easy to go through them. I'm going to skip all this. Okay. So we did this AI and blockchain policy. Oops, I think, sorry, this is safe and ethical artificial intelligence policy, which we released, Honorable Chief Minister released about a month ago or 4 weeks ago, three and a half weeks ago. This is the country's first safe and ethical AI policy. I think ethics in AI have been discussed on every possible forum on AI. And it is such a challenging topic that to actually frame it into a policy is really hard. And we have taken a serious attempt at it, and we have been partly successful. We have got some great positive reviews of the policy. We have shared it widely across the country as well as internationally. And I think while framing this policy, we had consulted a large number of experts working in this domain. So I think to that extent, we had tried to get as much feedback as possible. But of course, we are open to more feedback. I'll at the end of the presentation, it's available on TNEGA website, Tamil Nadu E-Governance Agency website.
Yes,
Please
sir.
download it, read it, and let us know what you think of it. This, if you were to summarize the whole policy in a single slide, this is the summary. It's called DeepMax, which says there are 7 parameters of AI which need to be taken care of while rolling out a solution in public domain. This becomes extremely important for public sector because it is going to affect lives of citizens. But also, I would strongly recommend its use by the private sector. I think these are good principles. If you are building an AI solution, you need to know what the pitfalls are. And the pitfalls are, as I said, 7 pillars. DeepMax, which is D for diversity. So your AI solution should not be handicapped when it comes to handling diversity, whether it is gender, whether it is race, religion, color, feature, whatever it is, food habits. You never know. What happens is AI systems are sophisticated pattern recognition systems. You start doing a financial credit sanctioning AI, for example, a bank does it or a financial institution does it. And suddenly it sees that a particular slum or a particular area where poor people live, the default rate is high. I don't know. I mean, I'm just making it up. If that happens, it can start saying, I mean, it's a natural pattern. It will say that a particular pin code, if you come from a particular pin code, you're likely to default and it will deny you credit. And I don't think we need to, so this, and unfortunately, because the decision making is done in an algorithm, you won't get to see what correlations it has put together. And this can deny opportunity to a large section of people unfairly. And I think that is where we need to be very, very careful. So diversity, you have to also look at equity and fairness. Does the system promote fairness? Does it promote equity? Or it is biased towards a certain section of society on a certain set of parameters? Ethics. Now, when we talk about ethics, what I mean here is human values. Is it compatible with human values, or is it unidimensional optimizational technique only? Again, these are the things you need to be aware of whenever you use AI. P stands for privacy and data protection. How well your data is protected when you gather data, when you're working with people, systems tend to pick up a lot of data. How do you protect? Is there a very strong protection mechanism available? You have seen cases in the past. Hackers are always on the prowl. You have intentional and unintentional loss of privacy, loss of data, of individuals, and their sensitive data is lost. So privacy and data protection has to be inbuilt. You have to built into it a misuse protection. What if your software or algorithm gets used for a purpose for which it was not designed? It's a unintended or deliberate misuse of that algorithm. How do you handle that? For example, if you have a face recognition system, it could be used for identifying criminal activity. But what if you substitute a criminal's face with an individual's face who's not a criminal, and you want to track that individual? You have the whole city full of CCTV cameras, and you can actually track everything as one moves from one place to another. How do you ensure that nobody who has access to the system can change the photograph and make its use totally irresponsibly? So how do you do that? Auditability, which is essentially explainability, auditability and transparency. So explainability of AI is important, and then whether it works cross geography. I mean, whatever systems you have designed, does it work on in an area which is hilly, or does it work in an area where it is rains a lot, or it works in an area where people have shorter heights, all those has to be really taken care of. Then you had, we had, this is, I think, the last part of my presentation, the blockchain policy. Again, we released both of them together. The salient features are basically, these are the objectives, and this is the implementation strategy. You have, there is a, so again, we have designed it, the way we have designed it, that we want this will be a common infrastructure. All the government departments will be playing on it, and we will also make it open and available to private sector as well, with the consent of individual. So while it will be privacy preserving, it will also demand a very strong data protection and privacy compliance, but with the individual consent. So suppose you are an employer and you want to have a safe, if you want to have a foolproof access to, or you want to verify some potential employees educational credentials, you, with the employee's consent, you could access this website, this blockchain infrastructure, and actually verify the credentials and any other thing. I mean, you can verify any other details which the individual has given you a specific consent to. So it's an ecosystem development strategy. We don't want to do it in silos. We want to make it open. And the stronger the building, the stronger the network of users on this blockchain backbone is, the better it will be for the people and for the blockchain backbone as well. These are some technical details. Again, I think I can. So here are some use cases which we have said. Education certificates and diplomas. We are intending to build this first step. So all the certificates, school or college, will be brought onto this. And as I said, it will be accessible by all government departments, all government agencies with the consent of individual, and also it will be made available to private sector wherever the individuals give consent. I was talking to some of the embassies. They said that it takes about a month to verify an educational certificate before diplomas are given, before visas are granted for a particular. So if you have a job opportunity and you're waiting for your visa to get approved, it will be really nice if it could be, the verification could be done in a few seconds, rather than the embassy writing to universities doing a manual search and coming back. I think it's in the interest of the individual. 1 month's salary, if you have got a job outside, it's $4,000 to $5,000, which is a substantial loss. You can save that if you give your consent, and the embassy or can actually verify your certificates on this blockchain backbone. There's so much more to do. Here is an oversight mechanism as well. You have a policy implementation committee. There'll be a protocol and standards committee and a legal and regulatory committee to oversee all this. So that, again, we are very, very conscious of data protection and privacy. Nothing will happen without the consent of a very informed consent of the individual. This is the website where you can go and see these policies. It's on the landing page itself. So tnej.tn.gov.in. TNEJ stands for Tamil Nadu E-Governance Agency. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. It was very, very informative as well as very exciting one. One of the immediate aspects that I noted was, as you mentioned about ethical AI, you also proved the point by saying how ethics are being used by not talking about number of clicks, but actually end-to-end scenario. I'm honored to see that we are not only using it, we are also practicing it. One of the questions from our audience is, given that we have about 25,000 villages which are not having internet connectivity, and you also mentioned that one of the AI use case is having crops being able to predict pesticide and as well as weather patterns. How are we making that available from creating awareness that this is available, as well as ensuring that education with a population which is not very digital savvy as we speak today? I know the younger generation is becoming savvy, but how are we tackling that segment of population with this use case? So you're on mute.
Okay, so valid points. So one of the one of the things which I think the whole country, I think there is a program called BharatNet, and what they are supposed to do is to provide a very high-speed connectivity, which is 1 Gbps connectivity to every village panchayat, and that's in Tamil Nadu as well. I think it is on the anvil. We should see that happening in next less than a year, and that should take care of the connectivity. Of course, in the beginning itself, I talked about technology. Inclusivity in technology is extremely important. So we realize that, and that is why we are very actively pursuing this voice user interface, and see that people can actually speak to the systems rather than having to type their needs or requests. So that limitation does remain. However, in this COVID pandemic, I have seen that uh, people are actually, even, I mean, of course, there are still not large amount, but there are pockets where connectivity is an issue. However, with the, as I said, the mobile penetration, and Tamil Nadu is one of the highest in the country. People do have access to some sort of internet technology or internet connectivity. So it does remain a challenge in few pockets, but still, I would say largely people are connected. And I think as we go forward, I think it will get resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. I think you're talking about more of a, you also mentioned if there are people right now in this call who have Tamil or native language proficiency, have that connection as well. Very well put. Another question from the audience is around, we heard during the COVID pandemic, a lot of the personal information who were patients who were infected was available in the public domain. Are we, how are we going to protect that privately, personally identifiable information going forward? Are we going to use blockchain to ensure that this doesn't happen or more of an awareness to all the government officials who are using this, volunteers who are using this network, as well as data? Because while we want to have data available, but we also want to protect the citizens' information, right?
Yeah, I think you have said it, and I think you have kind of. I completely agree with what you said. I think blockchain is a good solution for privacy preservation. It does protect privacies, and it's not easy to break those systems. Another thing which is happening is the data protection bill, which is coming, which is in the parliament. I believe it's with the standing committee. I hope that it will get passed soon, and it basically places a very onerous responsibility on data fiduciaries to take all the steps for data protection. The data leak which is referred to was a localized leak, as to the best of my knowledge. I think one of the districts, I think they were trying to plot information on Google Map to decide on their containment zones, and by mistake, I think you, instead of making that as a private this thing, they made it public, and that's how people could see. But I think it was, of course, the moment it was brought to the knowledge of the district administration, they rectified it also. Okay. But yes, that is a challenge, and I think awareness is a key, because this was not a deliberate attempt, or it was not even a malicious attempt by some hacker or something. It was just a plain simple case of oversight, and I think awareness is the solution. I think we need to make people aware. And with the data protection bill, I think there will be a liability also for this. So I think we are moving in the right direction, but it will take some time for getting a foolproof solution.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Santosh Mishra ji. I know, talking to you to talk about all the ideas, initiatives, projects, and implemented solutions from Tamil Nadu government, we need one full day. That is, we have planned Excite, empowering citizens through information technology. Hopefully in 2021, we will be having the full day conference. Thank you very much for your presence and sharing some of the frontal initiatives. I know with respect to technology, Tamil Nadu government under your leadership, particularly the e-governance, has been outstanding. And some of the policies what you have come up with is really pioneering. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence and.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
For your time
And
and thanks to our audience for your
if time permits, we would like you to be available, sir.
And there are a
Right.
few questions that are asked for you. If you can answer them over chat, that will be awesome, Mr. Santosh.
I'll try to, but I have another meeting scheduled, so I'll have to sign off now. And thank you very much for having me here.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Back to you, Senthil.
Yeah. Susinder?
Yes. Good morning, everyone, and warm welcome to all our delegates who are joining us from India and abroad. And I'm going to be taking you through the plenary 3 of this event. And, I will take you through the subject a little bit, and then I will give you a brief introduction of all the panelists, as well as the chairman of the panel first and all the panelists, and then hand it over to the chairman of the panel, Mr. Sir Dr. Sanjay Tyagi. So let me just take you through the topic and the scope of discussions. For plenary 3, we are talking about growth and opportunities around fintech, banking, financial services, and insurance. Basically, growth in the BFSI segment. Now, what is the scope of discussion? That is very important. We have banking, financial services, insurance, challenges and opportunities with digitization. Now, opportunities for banks are plenty. It is easy for them to acquire a customer today, and it is possible for every customer to have a video KYC if they want to get into register themselves or get an account opened in the bank by sitting at home. And it is all they need to do is just have one interaction, video interaction with the bank branch, and maybe a little later, if you want to use a check, you may have to go across to the bank and sign. So that is the only requirement. So it is easy to acquire. On the other hand, what is the challenge for the customer? If you really think about a pensioner who is about 65, 70, he has to walk to the bank every year to validate his signature. That is his challenge. Also the challenge for the bank. So these are some data challenge in digitalization. If you really look at what has happened in Tamil Nadu in a few weeks ago, where 50 crores of rupees was taken out of the DBT system by a set of people who operated in collusion with the bank, this is a major challenge that is facing the BFSI segment in India. So these are challenges posed by digitalization, because we trust that digitalization is going to help all the consumers across the country. We also need to take care that our own government's money is also reaching safe hands of people. So this is one of the challenges and scope for discussion, where this will be discussed at length by eminent panelists who are champions in their own league. And then the second one is rapid growth of fintech and insurtech. To be short and sharp, let me say that it is something from Paisa Bazaar to Policy Bazaar. So both these bazaars are growing in their own way, and their valuations are also growing. I mean, Policy Bazaar and Paisa Bazaar. And then we come to the payments industry and growth opportunities. Growth opportunities in payments industry are plenty. In fact, a few days back, when Mr. Sundar Pichai was referring to the growth opportunities in India.
Sure.
Yes.
No, yeah, please, you can invite Dr. Sanjay Tyagi to start the plenary session as well,
Can I go
considering the
ahead?
time constraint.
Yeah, the chairperson and the panelists. With respect to, I already mentioned and highlighted the security implementation and imperatives, and digital lending and digital wallets. Digital lending is becoming now a trend among the banks for various customers. Now let me introduce the chairperson. Read and go through
Yeah, looks like Mr. Susinder has a bad connection. Senthil? Hello.
Yes, Prajaram, sir.
Yeah, you can. Mr. Susinder has a challenge. We can take over and introductions.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, என்ன reconnect பண்ணுங்க சார். பேசிட்டு இருக்காரு சார். மறுபடியும் சேர்த்து திருப்பி கனெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க. அதே கனெக்ஷன்.
Senthil, your voice is not very audible. Can you get closer to the mic?
Yeah.
953.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Following our chairperson, Dr. Sanjay Tyagi, we have Dr. Prakash, Managing Director of Star Health and Allied Insurance Company Limited. He's a passionate medical doctor who became a managing director of a leading health insurance company for the first time in India. He's the first of its kind to have 2 decades of clinical experience from India and overseas, having more than a decade of experience in health insurance. As the managing director of Star Health Insurance, he is making commendable contributions for the progress of Star Health Insurance through the synergy of 12,000 plus network hospitals and diagnostic centers in India. During the past 12 years of his tenure, he grew from medical director, executive director, chief operating officer to joint managing director, and now elevated as a managing director. His efficiency in contributing to the functional growth of Star Health Insurance is reflected. The GWP of USD 3 million in 2007 to $780 million in financial year 2019. He heads the product innovations at Star Health by introducing executive health policies for senior citizens and for people living with cancer, diabetes, cardiac ailments, and autism spectrum disorders, etc. He is also the chief editor of the quarterly in-house health magazine, a visible testimony to his multi-dimensional personality. He has played a key role in implementing mass health insurance schemes like Arogyasri in the state of Andhra Pradesh and the Chief Minister's Health Insurance Scheme for life-threatening ailments in the state of Tamil Nadu, covering 12 crore people. He has created an interactive platform between the insurance company and hospitals under the aegis process through synergy.
Senthil, yeah, considering the time constraints, let's make it short only. I think this slide is enough.
Yeah. Following him, we have Justice Sri Talwant Singh, serves as judge in High Court of Delhi. Justice Talwant Singh, he's joined in Delhi Bar in 1986 and practiced as a litigation lawyer at High Court and District Courts of Delhi till April 2000. His practice areas were corporate law, family law, civil and criminal law. He joined Delhi Higher Judicial Service in May 2000 as additional district and session judge. While working as a judge, he presided over courts dealing with corruption cases, heinous crimes, service tribunals, civil and family law jurisdictions. Along with him, we have Mr. Sriram Iyer, COO, Global CEO of ANS Bank, Singapore. Sriram is the Global Chief Operating Officer for ANZ Corporate and Institutional Business. With more than 25 years of global banking experience, Sriram has held leadership roles that drive long-term change and adoption of new technologies to boost returns and increase productivity. Prior to ANZ, Sriram was a CEO for Standard Chartered Bank's Shared Services Center in India, China, and Malaysia. Along with him, we have Mr. Philip Metodi, CEO of Deutem Capital and Managing Partner, AlphaSec Advisors, Europe and Hong Kong. He is a founder and Chief Executive Officer of Deutem Capital Limited. In 2008, he co-founded Fintica Limited and serves as its CEO. Philip is also a Managing Partner at AlphaSec Advisors. He serves as a non-executive board member of several Israeli companies. He is also a senior advisor and non-executive board member of the Israel Asian Fund. And along with him, as a final panelist member, we have Mr. V. Balasubramaniam, President, Merchant and Terminal Businesses for FSS. He has more than 3 decades of experience spanning across various industries with expertise in expansion and scaling up. He is an evangelist for the ATM industry who also serves as the director at CATME at FSS. He takes care of merchant and terminal businesses and plays a strategic role in P&L management, strategy, operations, business expansion, market leadership, M&A, and globalization. Yeah, over to you, sir, Dr. Sanjay Tyagi.
So good morning to everybody, and I would like to welcome you to this third plenary of the FICCI TENGO 2020 annual conference. I would like to welcome the Dr. S. Prakash, convener of the FICCI Tamil Nadu Insurance Panel and Managing Director of the Star Health Allied Insurance Company Limited, Justice Talwant Singh, Additional District Session Judge, Delhi High Court, Mr. Sriram Iyer, CEO Global ANZ Bank Singapore, and Mr. Philippe Metodi, CEO Deutem Capital and the Managing Partner AlphaSec Advisors, Europe and Hong Kong, Mr. V. Balasubramanian, President, Merchant Terminal Business Financial Software and Systems, FSS. I am Dr. Sanjay Tyagi. I am Director STPI, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. We are basically supporting the IT and ITS industry, exporting industry from this from the state. Government of India have taken several initiatives in last several years to provide a digital push into this country, and we think that the last 3 decades have been taken care by the services sector, which has been served from the India. And probably India have proved its worth and captured the 52% of the services outsourcing market to India. We feel that the next flywheel for the success of the India has to be the digital India push in terms of the smartphone penetration and success of the India stack, thriving the startup ecosystem, and these are the probably the another flywheel which will catapult India into a $1 trillion economy. India have already, proved its standing in terms of having number of the unicorns. We are having 3rd in number of the unicorns. We are in 2nd in number of the startups. We are 1st in having the new startups being added up every day, every year. Tamil Nadu have become a financial services hub. We are a SaaS capital, having 600 companies which are working into the financial sectors. We are having some 250 plus companies which are serving 400 financial institutions of the world from the state of Tamil Nadu. The success of the India stack has made us more sural in India's digital economy, that digital economy shall grow from 8% to 20% by 2025. The Aadhaar success, the success of the UPI transactions, eKYC, Giant Trinity, and all these successes in India have actually brought a lot of revolution in the fintech sector specifically. Many startups have leveraged this India stack and developed the new fintech products, which is helping our traditional banks to reach to the non-banking population of our country. They are trying to fill in the digital divide in terms of the economic reach, in terms of the financial reach to these have-nots. And India's tech have been used for background verification, payment, lending, paperless consent, tax compliance, and other seamless services to the customer. Thanks to the smartphone penetration, the digital payment adoption rate in India has actually, the CAGR in India is more than 20%. Government e-payment adoption ranking have rose from 28th in 2015 to, in 2015 from 36th in 2011, which is a huge a leapfrog by India as far as the digital payment is concerned. So this cashless, paperless, and presenceless service delivery model have not only revolutionized the financial services sector, but in the process transitioning India from data poor to data rich nation. This will result in intervention and adoption of the disruptive technologies like AI, machine intelligence, automation, analytics for giving impetus to data economy, and in turn, digital economy. So digital economy transition shall be driven by the multiple technologies, and this in turn help in increasing market size from 10x to 50x, and this will reduce the ease of doing business and hopefully make the life easy for a lot of entrepreneurs in this country. Before coming to our first speaker, Mr. S. Prakash, I would like to bring this perspective also into the light that India is having some 63 million enterprises in this country, and out of which 12 million do not have office, 12 million operate from home, and 12 million only pay GST, 1 million pay social security, 19,500 entrepreneurs are only having the paid up capital more than 10 crores. So we require a lot of formalization of the enterprises, which will bring non-formal sector into the formal sector. And unless we will not do that, there is a huge scope for these people to contribute to the GDP of this country. And we hope that the advent of the fintech into our country and in the entire world probably going to contribute in a very big way in bringing these all informal sector into the formal sector, which will probably start, paying their role and contribute to the GDP of this country. At this point, I would like to bring in Mr. S. Prakash, Managing Director, Star Health and Allied Insurance Company Limited, and I would like to know his views regarding the growth and the opportunities around fintech, banking, and the financial services and insurance. Please, Dr. S. Prakash.
Thanks, Dr. Sanjay Tyagi. I hope I'm audible to all.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the initiative taken. My appreciations to Vicky. Adding to the statistics that you have currently mentioned, India, less than 10% of the people have health insurance, meaning that insurance where they pay from their pocket or the employer pays for them. It is less than 10%, and overall, including all the government schemes, which is subsidized or partly, or including all the government scheme, it is only 40%. Vis-a-vis, the penetration is 65% in China, and in UK it is 85, and in US it is 89. So what I mean to say is, currently there are less than 10% of the Indian population who have an adequate insurance cover where they pay from their pocket or they are paid by an employer. So the outer potential for the market is very high. And the healthcare spend is around 8 to 9 lakhs per annum. Only 2 lakh is public spending. Rest is all pay from the pocket. Around 66% of the Indians, they pay from the pocket. And in India, we see the very common occurrence of poverty along with medical disease. As a doctor in the medical profession and in insurance, I have seen a lot of people, whatever may be the knowledge that we have and the training and expertise that we have gained from abroad, when it comes to making an accurate diagnosis and discussing the different options for management with the patients, the first question that comes to their mind is cost. What is the use of an most expensive and ultra modern radiotherapy equipment or a cath lab with a lot of cardiac intervention procedures, or a robotic which can remove your prostate without any problem and you can go home the next day? These advancements, if it is not able to reach a common man, then we are not really leveraging on the technology. The technological advancements and growth are happening, most welcome, but is it reaching all financial segments, all economic strata, is what is my major concern as a medical person in the insurance sector. The out-of-pocket expenses, which are more than 66%, how it has to be addressed, how many, we know that 7 to 8 crore people are pushed into poverty just because of health reason. Food, cloth and shelter have to be graduated to food, clothes, shelter and health insurance in India. But to that extent, it is happening. What was around 20,000 crore health insurance premium in the 5 years of time, it has reached around 52,000 crore. And the next 5 years, it is envisaged to reach around 125,000 crore. Naturally, at the gap, the healthcare spend is 8 lakhs, whereas 2 lakh is a public care spending. So the gap is 6 lakh crore. So there are huge opportunities for health insurance to grow in the next few years. And with that opportunity, we are not only addressing the healthcare issue, but also the economic burden of this country. Insurance companies are also with a very tight insurance companies. I believe most of you are aware that it is a strongly regulated industry under the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India, where they have to maintain solvency as they grow. And every product, insurance product that is available to a person in the industry today has to be priced and got approved by the regulator. So they cannot price, if somebody is charging 10,000 rupees, it cannot be a ballpark figure. The pricing of the product, the features that are given in the product and the promise of the contract terms are all very strictly regulated. And insurance companies work in association with the hospitals. But unfortunately, hospitals today, although most of them are involved in life-saving measures, a portion of them are yet to be regulated, yet to be standardized. We don't have standardization of procedures and standardization of cost. The National Health Authority, along with the National Digital Health Mission, they are working towards, National Health Authority is working towards arriving at a standardization for the hospitals. So there are a lot of technological advancements which are going to address two major areas: the insurance penetration in India, how we can enhance penetration, how we can reduce the out-of-pocket expenses, how we can increase the service capabilities so that the trust and confidence of the policyholder on the insurance companies grows, how we can involve technology to have a good relation with the hospitals and direct the people to go to the appropriate hospital and not advanced hospitals. So technology has got a great role to play in the next 5 years. And the vast opportunity that is available in the health insurance sector, the whole healthcare ecosystem is geared up to learn more about technology and involve technology in their progress and growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prakash. And I mean, it is really worrying to know that only 10%, less than 10% of the population of India is insured. And that is the severity of the, we are underinsured as far as the health is concerned. And most of the people are going into the poverty, below the poverty line because of the health reasons. And, the competition, we are not even in the competition with our neighborhood. China is having 60% and, the US is all-time high of 80%. And you rightly said that, the food, cloth and shelter, we should add the insurance also to it. And probably Government is trying to do their bit. Jan Dhan Aadhar Yojana and so many other health programs which government of India is trying to bring in. We will see how it will able to help the masses. So whether Star Health Allied Insurance have done a wonderful job in the country, and you have actually in a very short of time you have acquired the a lot of name into this country. So how do you find that how the technology is helping you to reach to your customers now?
We are utilizing technology in procurement, in servicing of customers, and in handling of claims when they are in a need. So now today, sitting at one's comfort, people can book a policy, can choose the right policy. And we from Star Health Insurance, we have close to 30% of the market share, and we are the dominant leaders in the retail health insurance sector. And we are able to reach this 30% market share without any strategic distribution partner, without any banker, without any hospital name, without any industry background. We started 14 years before, and today we are the dominant health insurance player because of service efficiency. And that service efficiency is mostly contributed by a strong technology platform. A platform where all the stakeholders, the customers, the doctors, the hospitals, the product designers, and the health insurers, all of them have to come in alignment to reach this common goal. And that's the reason why, we thought that health insurance in the yesteryears was made available only to people who are otherwise young and healthy. We want to introduce a very inclusive approach. People already suffering from a heart disease, diagnosed with a heart problem, or diagnosed even with cancer. In no other part of the world, a person who is already diagnosed with cancer can walk in and take an insurance cover. Today, we are extending it to people with kidney disease, people with liver disease, autoimmune diseases, who are on long-term treatment. Because in India, when it comes to penetrate, I'm talking about less than 10% of the population having an insurance. The main reason is, who are those segment of people who are looking for health insurance? These are the people with a fear of a disease, threat of a disease, strong family history, greater predisposition, or some of them who have been already diagnosed and they are in the need of a treatment in the next few years. All these 10% of the people who have a retail or group health insurance, they are not the healthy people of India. They are the people at threat, and they want to reduce a financial burden. And health insurance, as you all know, it is a collateral security for all the savings one has. It is a collateral security. If they don't have a health insurance, they have to forego their savings. And today, modern advancements in medicine, it is we have value-based medicine in India. In India, we have state of the treatment available as it is available in the Western world. And somebody can have the treatment with the same outcome as it is given in the Western world, with the same outcome, but at 1/20th of the cost of what it is in the Western world. This is value-based medicine. Not only evidence-based, it is value-based. In no other part of the world we have so much of experts who can offer the treatment at 1/20th of the Western cost in the Western world, but with the same outcome. And there are hospitals and experts who monitor the registry and the clinical governance. So health insurance players, how do we use technology? We are trying to tell the customers only one thing. It is not that we only pay for your healthcare expenses. We also ascertain that your condition requires a treatment. Treatment is in order, and the treatment is given by the hospital and the experts who have the sufficient expertise. This is the greatest advantage, and we are able to grow only because of embedding technology in our service factors.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your kind words. Now, I would like to bring in Justice Shri Talwant Singh Ji, who is the Additional District Session Judge, High Court of Delhi. He has played a seminal role, he has contributed in making India's first paperless e-court at district court level. And he has interest in use of the ICT in the courts, and the cyber law has taken him to many foreign jurisdictions for delivering lectures to various stakeholders. I would like to bring in Justice Shri Talwant Singh Ji, and I would like to ask him, sir, we are using a lot of technology, a lot of emerging technologies are coming in. whether it is AI, whether it is blockchain technology, or it is data analytics. And we are actually gearing up to deliver so many services, financial services, fintech services to our customers. But there is a problem of the scale and the security. So do you think, sir, that we are in India, our laws, cybersecurity laws, which we have enacted in 2000, Information Act 2000 we have enacted, and then it has been revised in 2008. In 2013, we have a cybersecurity policy also we have framed. So do you think, sir, that the law is in place and we are also in an enforceable situation, and we are also using the technology to make sure that the cyber security is intact in this country, and we are ready for any type of the attack, and we will be able to defend them and take them to the justice. Justice Shri Talwant Singh ji.
Good morning, Dr. Tyagi and other participants. Basically, the cyber threat is an invisible threat, and we are always in denial mode.
Right.
You take an example of a bank. Suppose a criminal has, an ordinary criminal has broken into a bank. Okay, naturally it will be there in the papers. Next day there will be, teams rushing from news channels to cover that there has been a theft at the bank. Just change the scenario with a cyber theft in a bank. The first thing the bank management will do, they will be in a denial mode. They will not like to accept that the theft has taken place. Look at an ordinary account holder whose account has been compromised by a cyber criminal. Even today, with all information being given by RBI, with the bank, with the government initiatives, an ordinary account holder does not know where he should go. If he approaches the bank, they are in denial mode. If he approaches the police officials say, look, what we can do, it's between you and your bank. It's a civil dispute, it's a criminal dispute, whether you yourself has given your password, whether you have somebody has taken away your mobile phone. I think in spite of all our best efforts, a total environment of cyber safety is not in place till date. The people who are assigned with the job, we very proudly talk about cyber police stations, but not using our cloud, as high government officials. As an ordinary person, if you try to get a case registered there, it's a Herculean task. Even if a case is registered, I think no progress is being made. People are, coming to us. People are going to higher officials, telling them, "Sir, oh, my case has been registered, but there is no progress." Most of the time, these cyber criminals, they are not within the jurisdiction of this country. They are sitting abroad. If they are sitting abroad, how the Indian police and even the law enforcement agencies at central level, how they are going to proceed, at which level they will involve Interpol or the police officers from other countries. All these things have to be, I think, put in place. Right now, we are in a state of where nothing is happening. The ultimate problem, even these phone phishing calls, everybody knows. I think the 90% of the calls are originating from one village in Jharkhand, Jumtara. But we are unable to do anything. Once you know, and I think on this Netflix, there was a complete series on this. In spite of that, and those guys, who are so-called cyber criminals, they are not very educated people, but they know the pulse of the ordinary bank account holder of the country. They know that with the Jan Dhan, we have added, I think, 30 crores more bank accounts, but the cyber literacy level in the country is very low. The moment you tell an account holder that your debit card has been blocked or your credit card has been blocked, now we will send you a message, you have to tell the OTP to me. This poor person who may or may not have gone to school, even if he has gone to school, he has never handled this, mobile technology or the smartphones in the past. So he basically comes in a panic mode, and he shares all his valuable data, valuable passwords or OTPs with these criminals. Similarly, another disturbing aspect that we see in the country is that the people who are managing our data at banks and financial institutions and fintech companies, there are many cases where they have compromised the data. In some cases intentionally for some particular gain, and in many cases they are the targets of those phishing attacks. Unintentionally, they have opened an email in their office system and given access to a cyber criminal sitting maybe thousands of kilometers away. Entire system is compromised. In spite of the management, making all the efforts to teach them, to tell them what to do, what not to do with your official communication systems. Another instance that happens, which came in my knowledge when I was a special judge in district courts. Now I'm in High Court, is that there was a pay and accounts office where a temporary hand as data entry operator was employed, maybe for 6 months or so, and there were high government officials sitting in that pay and accounts office of one of the law enforcement agency of the government, one of the reputed government law enforcement agencies. And they were, this data entry operator was only to prepare a digital check. And these two high government officials were supposed to check those checks to see that these checks are filled properly and then sign them with their own password. So this fellow, who is a young man of 22 years, he said, "Sir, why are you taking trouble? I am the one who prepares the check. You enjoy your tea and coffee. Just share your passwords with me." And you will be astonished to know these two senior government officials, they shared their signature passwords or their digital signatures with this fellow who was employed only 6 months ago. And this fellow transferred lakhs and lakhs of rupees from the government treasury to his friends, to his relatives' accounts. And then he was offering them 4,000, 5,000 rupees to his friends, maybe sometimes a small mobile phone, and withdrawing those lakhs of rupees. So if this can happen in the office of a central government office, where a temporary hand has been able to manipulate two senior government officials, just think of thousands and thousands of fintech companies, the banks, and other, you can say, places where our personal data is kept. And the compromise is very, you can say, easy to do with the help of the insiders. The third threat, in my view, comes from because now this combination of fintech companies, startups, and banks, now they are in an you can say aggressive mode to expand. And once you are expanding, all these established banks, they are also taking help of these startups. But again, the verification level of the bank employees is very high. But the company, the third party which you are engaging, I think there you may be a little slack in verifying their credentials, and that can be one source of compromising the security. The banks are moving in the right direction. They are taking all the steps. But the basic approach to the cyber security in banks is that it's an expense head. Let us reduce it as much as we can. We have to come out of that approach. It's an investment which will save your future data breaches, which will save your own customers, which will save own reputation of the banks and financial institutions. We have to see it as an investment, not as an expense. So these are my small views on this. And as far as the law is concerned, we have the best laws in place. The only problem is implementing them. Right. The person at the basic level, the person who is a duty officer in a police station, he may not be aware about the cyber laws, the IT Act 2000, 2008, or the cyber policy. We are coming with of course, the protection of data is a very big issue in the country. The government is in the process of coming out with all the guidelines, all the rules in this regard also. But basic need is to train the person at the ground level who should take care, even the people who are using these banking facilities, the insiders who are managing these facilities, and of course the law enforcement agencies. Yeah.
Thank you, Justice Talwant Singh. And that is, you are absolutely right, sir, that we are in a denial mode and we have to accept that the cybersecurity threat is there. As you very rightly said, that the cyber policing and cyber policies, infrastructure, and the laws are very much in place. And it is the awareness which we have to increase among the users. We have to tell them the utility and the importance of keeping their important passwords with them and don't share it. So it is, most of the time, it is awareness which is actually lacking among the masses. And fintech have definitely revolutionized this process, and they are trying to connect the banking system and with the people with the better cybersecurity inbuilt into it. And I hope slowly, when we will implement and we will adopt the fintech ecosystem, probably we will be able to address it. And not only that, the one figure I came across, sir, that we are number 23 in the UN Global Cybersecurity Index. So probably we will someday progress and go up in the value chain, and at least will be in the first 10 as far as this indexing is concerned. So thank you very much, sir, for sharing your views with us. It's very great to have. If I will have a time, I will come back to you for a question, sir. Thank you. I would move on to Mr. Shriram Iyer, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the ANZ Banking Group. And he is the Chief Operating Officer, and with more than 25 years of the global banking experience. He's a TEDx speaker, and he's a writer as well, qualified chartered accountant, management accountant, and company secretary from India. Shriram, I would like to take you in by asking you that, the transition from the ancient banking system to the digital banking. Do you think that there is a threat to the ancient banking system? And then if I go ahead a little bit, the non-financial institution and the NBFCs are also filling in. So do you think that this is a threat to the traditional and the digital banking itself? We have an uneven digital infrastructure, so we have enough scope for the existence of both digital as well as the traditional banking system. So what do you think about the opportunities and the challenges for the banking institutions in India, especially when you have a huge task as far as India is concerned? I mean, you are an international bank, but as far as India is concerned, there is a huge task to reach out to those unbanked people who are starving for the banking system, and how you are using the fintech for reaching out to these people. Mr. Shriram Iyer.
First, I thank you very much to Vicky and Dr. Tyagi for this opportunity. Great pleasure. And I hope I'm being heard clearly. The question is very broad. Let me at the outset say that the opportunities far outweigh the challenges that you just touched upon, particularly in the Indian context. And when I talk about opportunities, I'll give you a nugget of statistic. McKinsey recently published a report. There are about 30,000, call them banks of financial institutions around the world of meaningful size. And every 12 months, $1 trillion is invested in digital transformation, $1 trillion. Now, the reason I quote that is that, for one, banks and NBFCs do not have a choice of asking themselves, do I wish to be a part of this or do I wish to stay away? That question is out of the door, and you will almost, may I say, cease to exist if you choose the latter. So it is not a question of choice. Second, it's a huge question of opportunity, because I have been in technology related business for banking for so many years. This time, the combination of all the technology development around the world is so borderless that I have never seen it of this kind in the past. And when I say technology, it is such a broad term, but for ease of understanding, a good acronym is ABCD, which in the way I talk to my teams, it is artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud, data. Now, you can replace that with almost anything you like, but it's an easy acronym to remember. And when you have that borderless capability around the world, and then we top up this experience of COVID that has hit all of us, while it is hugely depressing as to what has happened, the extent of digital adoption that is now taking place around the world as a result of COVID, mainly, has never ever been seen before. What boards generally have assumed a roadmap of 3 to 5 years is now happening in 3 to 5 months. So that is yet another huge opportunity. The third thing I'd say is that regulators around the world have come together like never before, partly because of opportunities and partly because of threats. And threats such as what Justice called out on cybersecurity is one aspect that has forced regulators to talk to each other, because most of these threats are borderless threats. They don't go by jurisdiction, they go by where the money is. So when regulators come together, that is a great platform to be under. And I have had the opportunity to deal with regulators in Singapore or Australia or Hong Kong and so many other markets. There is huge dialogue and there is a aligned effort, which is, I think, a great, again, an environment which makes a big difference. Now, when you top up all of what I just said with the growth of startups in the age of technology, and startups, I mean younger companies as opposed to general fintechs, India obviously stands and shines because of the supply of talented technologies that are available at the younger age. And of course, you touched upon unicorn statistic earlier, Dr. Tyagi. So when you look at all of this, there is a opportunity set which far outweighs the challenge set in the way I think about it. And I completely get it, how difficult it is to execute certain aspects, particularly when it comes to our country. But I would argue that it has never been as good as it is these days in the context of what we just discussed. The other point I'd make is that in general, the public discourse is around, let's say, consumer banking or retail banking, about how individuals are rising middle class, etc., and the reach and the non-banking opportunities for non-banking financial companies. The less discussed opportunity is on the corporate and larger institutional segment, which is happens to be the segment that I represent these days, which India is a growing economy, obviously, and the opportunity to offer technology capabilities to meet the requirements of large corporates in an international context is not often, or I would say, tapped, and that is waiting to be. We can play a big part, because I can see that happening in other markets where corporate institutional business is enabled by the younger startups who have many things going for themselves. When I think of startups, there is great agility in the way they run the companies. There is minimum viable bureaucracy, which is another word for MVP, and they're very obviously hungry about technology. However, when you think of the buyers of such technologies, such as financial institutions and NBFCs, startups have to learn equally from large institutions like banks. Many banks are 200 years old in this world, such as ANZ. And so there is a reason why they have sustained for these many decades. So startups can learn as to how do you sustain a company based on solid foundations. Startups can learn about how to deal with risk management, which is why companies sustain for so long. And startups can learn about how to deal with regulatory pressures, because that keeps moving and gets enhanced day by day or year by year. So any which way you look at it, there is a plus and a minus on both sides, both by the supplier of new technologies and by the buyers of new technologies in the financial services industry. And that applies to NBFCs also, Dr. Tyagi. So I suppose that's how I would react to your question, and hopefully that was somewhat sensible. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shriram Iyer. I totally, I'm really heartening to know that there are 30,000 banks in the world, but we have probably only 50 banks in our country. And if we have to grow and we have to approach to the non-banking people of this country, probably we have to have more number of banks in the country. Now, one of the statements which I want to tell is this, that 60% of the CEO and head like you of the financial institutions have said openly that they want to work very closely to the startup ecosystem and startup tech companies, so that they can reach out to those people in the world where the banking is required. And I don't see there is any competition between the fintech and the traditional banking system, but I think they are complementing each other. And you have rightly said that the startup has to learn a lot from the traditional banking system, wherein they have to learn that how to exist for 100 and 200 years, and how to serve the customer, how to mitigate their all the risk part into the banking system. And you rightly said that technology, people are spending hugely into the digitization of the banking system, and probably $1 trillion is being invested in the digital system. And now everybody has to this side of the digital bar, and if they have to progress in the banking arena. So I thank you very much for enlightening us about your experience in this sector. I would come back to you if I will have any question. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We are having Mr. Philippe Matodi, founder and the Chief Executive Officer of the Dutem Capital Limited, and he's co-founded Finitica Limited and served as its CEO. He is a managing partner at AlphaSec Advisors, and he's a new non-executive board member of the several Israeli company. He has co-authored a book, Israel and China, from Silk Road to Innovation Highway. And he was a member of the executive board of Clearstream Banking and chairman of its market committee. He received Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011 and also Global Custodian and the Bank of the Year Award 2009 from the Asset. I would like to invite Mr. Philippe Matodi, and I would like to ask him.
We take the help of Mr.
That we have a huge MSME system in the formal and the informal sector. I have given you the data that we are having some, 63 million enterprises in this country, out of which only 19,500 are into the formal, they are having only more than 10 crores paid up capital. So we need to hugely formalize this sector. We have to hugely formalize them if they are able to contribute to the growth of the country, and they contribute to the GDP of this country. And the fintech and the financialized and seed funding, and and making them credit worthy, making them creating certain amount of the help so that they become credit worthy is a very, very important aspect in bringing them into the formalization, sir. So how do you think, sir, that we can bring them in this? How can fintech help? How can fintech help them to make them more formalized, and they make them more contributing to the GDP of this country? Mr. Philippe Matodi.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be part of such a distinguished panel. My presentation, I'm not sure whether the organizers can upload a short presentation that I've sent them, but I want to explain that I was very much interested in the fact that only 10% of the people in India have health insurance. And
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, shall I share your presentation, sir? I have your presentation.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. If you can move to the second slide. Thank you.
Okay. One minute.
Okay. What I want to explain is that if 10% of the people in India have actually only have health insurance, I think the potential of collaboration between Israel and India is really only at 10% of its potential. And if you look at already the personal relationship between the respective prime minister, Mr. Modi and Mr. Netanyahu, there's a clear political will to do more together. Now, I have to tell you, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not Israeli, I'm French, but we've developed a whole business based on Israeli technology. And I'm not sure whether you can see the first slide of my presentation, but for me, the future of the fintech business in India will have a very big impact on the collaboration with Israeli fintech companies. We talked a lot about the number of startups per country. Now, if you look at the number of startups in Israel, which has a population of only 8 million, which is the population of a small Indian city, there are more startups in Israel than the entire European Union. Now, this is just a testimony of some of the very large investors groups. And if I decided not to show you the GAFAs, the Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, but what is interesting is these four companies, their first overseas acquisition was in Israel. Now, if you take the two of the names that are here, like Microsoft and Intel, if you read their mission statement, their website, they would tell you that they're not American citizens, American companies, they're American and Israeli companies. Microsoft has 8 R&D centers in Israel, and Intel actually has its entire autonomous driving division shipped to Israel after the acquisition of Mobileye for $15 billion. If you can go very quickly to the next slide, I want to show you. Okay, actually, you can skip this one and move to the next one. The number of, as I said, the number of acquisitions from foreign companies is simply overwhelming. I will show you a few slides later, but there has not been much activity between Israel and India for the time being. But as I mentioned, and if you could move to the next slide, I mentioned that there are a lot of companies in India looking at Israeli tech. And our business, to be honest, has been pretty much helping mainland Chinese investors to buy into Israeli high tech, mostly fintech. But I think that the next big markets for big area of collaboration with Israel would be 2 countries, would be one India, and the second would be UAE, following the signing of the peace treaty a month ago. If you can go to the next slide. By the way, I'm sure the organizers will be able to send you the presentations. Now, I'll go very quickly. This is some of the Chinese deals that happened in Israel over the last few years. If you can go to the next slide as well. And the next slide, and I will just show you why I decided to show you this slide. A couple of years ago, Baidu had a very interesting article asking or showing the companies that will change the world. And I have to tell you, I'm very pleased that out of this list, we actually have 6 companies that are part of our investment portfolio. Next slide, please. Okay, this is actually interesting, but it really shows the tremendous potential of collaboration between the 2 countries. And as I mentioned, fintech will be the engine. And I will tell you a bit more about our new venture and how we want to work with the Indian institution. But I decided to show you India versus China, as that you can say that it's a little bit, it's just a fraction of what China is doing in Israel. Now, let me tell you a bit more about what's happening in the fintech area. Now, as you probably know, because of this, the geopolitical situation of Israel, a lot of the scientists actually come from military. There are, I would imagine, 2 pillars in the technology of Israel. One is a university based in Haifa in the north of Israel called Technion. Technion is a university that has 6 Nobel Prizes. And the second, and this is why I think it's very interesting, and I don't want to emphasize the very strong military ties that both Israel and India are building. What is interesting is in the Israeli army, there's this very special cybersecurity unit in Hebrew called Shmone Matayim, which is 8,200. And this is today, believe it or not, the largest unit of IDF, of the Israeli army. And it's only cybersecurity, it's only AI experts that basically work in this unit for at least 3 years. Most of them just sign for another 3 years. But what is interesting is when they graduate or when they leave the compulsory military duty, they have a list of very prestigious companies that hire these people. I know this is not an impressive number for India, but there are 200,000 Israelis working in the Silicon Valley. So out of a population of 8 million, it really shows the impact that tech has in Israel. Now, as far as fintech, a few years ago, I actually asked our team in Israel to identify the next Mobileye, the company that was acquired by Intel, the artificial intelligence company, and I wanted to find the next one. They came back to me with a company called Cortica. And again, Cortica is exactly a summary of what I mentioned earlier. Technion, the founders all went to this very MIT prestigious University of Israel, and the elite unit of the Israeli army. At that time, they had 3 business segments. They had autonomous driving, they had smart city, and they had security, which is obviously, as you can imagine, critical in Israel. When we did our due diligence, we realized that their technology was actually agnostic to sectors. So we decided that we wanted to use their technology and bring it into the financial world. So the company was created, Fintica, and very quickly we were hired by the Swiss exchange that wanted us to build algorithms for market detection, stock manipulation. And following this agreement with the Swiss exchange, we were hired by Nikko, the Japanese firms, and we are writing all the algorithms for asset management, risk management. Now, let me tell you what I feel, and it's going to come back to your question about, we don't believe that AI is a black box. So basically AI will do everything, the investment and the risk management. It's going to be a little bit like what we feel of autonomous driving. We don't expect cars to be driven on its own, not anytime soon. But AI in autonomous driving will give a tool to the driver to be safer and avoid accident. And we think that AI related to fintech will actually give a tool to the risk manager, to the asset manager, to the middle office people to actually do their job better. So this is what I'm saying. We've been talking, as I said, to a couple of very large institutions worldwide. India is definitely, for the reasons I explained earlier, offers tremendous opportunities for the fintech ecosystem in India to collaborate with Israel. Thank you. Can you still hear me?
Sir, Dr. Sanjay Tyagi, you are in mute.
Sorry. So thank you very much, Mr. Matodi. And I totally agree with you that there is a lot of synergies, opportunities are there between India and Israel, and the present leaderships are working very, very closely together. We know that you are having one of the best startup ecosystem and technology ecosystem in Israel. I know that maximum number of the IPR and the patents are being filed from the Israeli companies, and you people are the role model that how if we nurture our startup ecosystem, we can become #1 in the world as far as the technology consumption and technology exporting is concerned. Probably you are the people who are providing technology in every niche area of the world, and you are first in the entrepreneurship. And you rightly said, sir, that AI plus fintech, they can do a lot of, it can give a lot of flip to all these emerging technologies. These technologies are good, but then we have to, use different technologies together and to make them scalable and to make them, better in terms of the cybersecurity as well. So I would like to come back to you if I will have any question, although I probably don't have time. But thank you very much for joining us today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have the next speaker is Mr. V. Balasubramaniam. He is the President, Merchant and Terminal Businesses, FSS. He is a graduate in mechanical engineering and holds postgraduate diploma in industry engineering and material management. FSS have done a wonderful job as far as the payment services, financial services part is concerned. And I know that in the present circumstances in our country, where the payment, where the digital payment is booming and the digitization is booming, and our MSMEs are showing 7 to 8% growth in this country. Digital transaction in India have rose to 55% in 2019 compared to China, where it was only 48% last year. But in today's circumstances, probably we have crossed 75% and more than that. Digital payment adoption rate, as I told you earlier, has CAGR is 20.2%, and we have done a great job as far as the payment sector is concerned in fintech. We are having some 45 mobiles wallet and 50 UPI based wallet providers, and I hope this is this is a great opportunity for all of us. So I would like to know from Mr. Bala that how FSS see it as an opportunity, and what are the challenges still left as far as the fintech, banking, and the financial services concerned. Mr. V. Balasubramaniam.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, and Thank you, Vicky, for giving me the opportunity to speak to all of you. And if you look at India today, when they talk digital, they talk payments. So that's how it's so synonymous with it, digital, when people talk about digital. But I still say that what we have achieved today is there are only about 120 million users to 150 million users who are actually doing digital payments today. And if you look at the size of the people, we have about 750 million people who have an account and who have a banking system, and balance 600 million still doesn't use digital payments or doing payments through digital. So that's one of the opportunities which India is looking at, to see how do we reach those 600 million people and ensure that we bring the financial inclusions. As some of the speakers said in the morning, technology can make a digital divide. And it's very important that technology helps in the inclusion of people, and payments is the easiest way to start the inclusion of people in the country. So our whole plan is to see how do I reach the next 600 million and how do we bring our digital payments to them. And if you look at FSS, the name FSS stands for fast, simple and secure payments. That's what we stand for. We have been there for 30 years trying to transform the Indian payments. And the only way it can come and reach those people, one, they need to have the trust in the payment. When I say trust, why is UPI successful today? The UPI is successful today because the amount reaches the other person immediately, the immediate payment, so that there is no lag or wait. If you look at the RTGS system, if you look at the NEFT, there is a wait. If you look at the POS transaction, finally the merchant would get after 2 days or 1 day later. The UPI is successful because the payment reaches to the respective person immediately. So in lieu of cash, he's doing that payments in the UPI. We call this as a faster payment. So a lot of effort and directions are going in the faster payment space, which is very important to ensure that the people at the tier 3, tier 4 cities or villages get the access. Second important thing which RBI is doing is coming out with something called NUE, which is called New Umbrella Entity, which is similar to what NPCI is doing today in the payment space. They believe that if we have to reach out to the 750 million people in this country, the only way is to have multiple NPCI in the country, multiple network players. We call that as a network players. So those frameworks have already been designed. Hopefully by April, the license would come out in terms of another 2 or 3 players. I don't know. And the mandate for them is to see how would they reach the next 600 million, what type of innovations will come to reach those people, and how do we build the infrastructure today. Even today, to be honest, we have not built the last mile infrastructure. Even today, the digital success rate, maybe in urban, you can see a 90% success rate. But when you go to the rural side, your success rate would be around 60 to 70%. So how do I make the success rate at the rural to the tune of, say, 99% or 100% so that people have a trust? So in lieu of cash, they do the payments in digital form. Third, I'm sure the earlier speakers spoke about opportunities in insurance, opportunities in one of the things which have come out is that the people down the line don't have products which can help them do transactions in the insurance or in the mutual funds or in credit, because their expectation is every day I should get a loan in the morning and I should pay back the loan in the evening. And if that has to happen, you need to have a technology which can help them do that exercise. And a classic example I would say is, I'm sure we are all watching IPL, you are seeing Dream 11 is one of the classic example I would like to put it here. He's one of those guys who came out and say, you can take payments even 10 rupees and 11 rupees. And if you look at it, they have 90 million users and predominantly they are all tier 3, tier 4 people. who pay that 11 rupees and 15 rupees and join the fantasy post contest. And they're all RuPay card holders, and they all do mobile transactions. It's not even NEFT or internet banking, mobile transactions through RuPay card or through net banking to take a payment of 11 rupees and 15 rupees. So we are looking at products from insurance or from mutual funds or from many of them. How do we do business at the bottom of the pyramid? Is there a way we can have SIP at 10 rupees a day or 50 rupees a day? Can I have insurance product where they collect premium 5 rupees a day? Is that feasible? Similarly, the rest of the other industries which can work on this, and we are trying to build that ecosystem, is the second area. And the last area which I want to talk about is, today everybody are reaching the financial inclusion in isolation. So you have a separate insurance companies reaching out there. There's a bank reaching out separately. There is a mutual funds reaching out separately. What we are trying to do is creating a platform for financial inclusion. Somebody said Policy Bazaar or Paisa Bazaar, but Policy Bazaar is only on the insurance side. What we are trying to do is build up an inclusion platform, tying up with the insurance companies, tying up with the microcredit companies, tying up with mutual funds and literacy agencies to ensure that they get this information in the Kirana shop in the village. That's the plan, and that's what we are working. I don't want to talk about technologies because everybody has talked about technologies. We need blockchain, we need artificial intelligence, we need all those things if you have to reach out to and do a collection in 10 rupees a day. And similarly, people have talked about voiceover, native language is important. We need to work on native language. We need to do data analytics if we have to do a business at the bottom of the pyramid and include 750 million in the payment space. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. I think we totally agree that FSS have contributed a lot in providing the fast, simple, and the secure payment services in India. And you are absolutely right that 120 million only are actually doing the digital transaction out of 750 million people are having the bank accounts, and we have to reach out to those 600 million people and bank accounts. They also come into the digital transaction scenario, and then only our CAGR of the digital adoption rate will go up in our country. And you know that success rate in the rural area is definitely low, and that may be because of the internet penetration is only 40% in our country, and we have to actually reach out to those people. Those smartphone penetration have a little bit helped us, but still the internet is a problem, and we have to definitely address this issue in the time to come if we want to make sure that the bottom of the pyramid is being addressed, their issues have been addressed. As I have talked to you earlier about our MSME, that MSME, a lot of informal sector MSMEs who require, the funding, day-to-day funding, and who require the funding in the morning, and they are ready to return it actually in the evening. So it is only the question of creating a platform. And you rightly said that we are, making our effort in isolation when we are talking about the financial inclusion for the masses. And we all have to come together and start making platform together, complement each other so that we can, ultimately reach to these people. You rightly said that the UPI have definitely facilitated, and legacy RTGS and NEFT, bottlenecks it has taken away. But then we have a lot of technology now available, which there is no need for me to talk, and there was no need for you to talk. It is only the willingness and more synergy among the industries which is required actually to address this issue. So thank you very much for you to joining us today. And Mr. Rajaram, I don't think I have any time other to take up any questions, but there is any questions.
There are multiple questions that have come up.
Okay.
But since we have time constraint,
right.
We'll take them offline. We'll share with the panel, the group, and we'll relay back the answers to them.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Srikanth, you can take over.
Can I take over, ma'am?
Yes.
Sir? Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon and welcome all to this panel discussion. It's going to be a very interesting panel discussion with some of the topics which is governing today and which is also a concern in the current pandemic. So the topics today are the future of work, job creation, competencies, skills, the new normal, which we don't know when it will evolve, and finally, the innovation culture. I think it's a very mix of all of these topics which are being dealt with. And we have some eminent speakers today on our panel. My name is Srikanth from the technology panel of FICCI, and I'm honored and pleasure to welcome the panel convener and the head of the panel, Mr. Anand. Just quick intro on Anand. Mr. Anand, would you like to play the video?
Yes, thank you. Oh, Srikanth, I'll just play the video quickly. Then we can start off with everybody else.
Often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the video. Folks, you can see all these words which has been happening, which you hear more often, and the most often words are the change, transformation, digitization, innovation, and all of it, it is you, and it says, be the change you want to be. So to take us through this panel discussion, Mr. S. Anand Vice President Tech Vision and Head Global Innovation Center, Frost & Sullivan, a competent person who has gone through a degree in electronics, but has worked through multiple platforms, whether it's healthcare, manufacturing, or innovation. So he is the Vice President of Tech Vision and Head Global Innovation Center, and has over a decade of consulting experience across multiple technology areas, including technology due diligence and acquisition target research. Along with them on the panel are the following people: Mr. Ajit Balakrishnan, founder, CEO, Rediff.com. Mr. Ajit Balakrishnan is a 6th batch alumnus of IIM Calcutta. He's a successful entrepreneur, an able business executive, and an admirable administrator. He had started his entrepreneurial venture with Rediffusion, an advertising firm now known as Rediffusion DYNR, which he co-founded with Mr. Arun Nanda and Mohammad Khan when he was only just 22. Wow. He later on founded PSI Data Systems in the 80s, mid-80s, with 2 other partners hailing from Stanford. Welcome, Mr. Ajit Balakrishnan to the panel. And along with them, Ms. Akila Radhakrishnan, Planning and Monitoring Committee from UNICEF. Ms. Akila Radhakrishnan is currently the Social Policy Specialist at UNICEF Chennai for Tamil Nadu and Kerala. At UNICEF since 2011, she has specialized in policy-led work around poverty, vulnerability, and equality across different sectors like child nutrition, health, education, and social protection. Welcome, ma'am, to the panel. Mr. Mr. Chandramouli, Chief Information Officer and Technology Officer, Sankara Nethralaya. He's a business technology expert with diverse experience, diverse functional, industry, and international experience and reputation for incubation, business building, and transformation. He has a consistent track record of developing and delivering innovative business solutions and products. He has the ability to understand and emerging trends and adapt to changing the business environment with flexibility to adapt to business growth, support new markets and channels. Had a successful track record of building newer products and services through global and distributed teams for global and regional market. Welcome, Mr. Chandramouli, to the panel. Mr. Jangu Dalal, founder and CEO of Intuit Consulting, former MD of Cisco India. Mr. Jangu Dalal was the managing director of D-Link India Limited, a diversified listed company in the areas of manufacturing and distribution of networking products and PC components and subsystems. At D-Link, he was involved in completely reorienting and overhauling the direction and profile of the company through a strategic demerger. Welcome, Mr. Jangu Dalal, to the panel. Over to you, Mr. Anand.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much, Shrikant. And thanks to FICCI for providing us with this particular opportunity. I know this is the last session, but it has been a very invigorating session over the last 2 days, talking about different topics, and all are very insightful. So to set the context for today's session, that has a lot of people that have actually done a lot of things related to Atmanirbhar itself. So I'm going to quickly share a short presentation that I have to kind of set this particular context related to why we are here. So this particular session on technology-enabled growth and opportunities, be Atmanirbhar, be digital, be more, right? So why are we talking about this, right? So growth is the most important objective that is becoming very increasingly difficult to achieve. We saw all the challenges that was discussed over the last 2 days about what they need to do to achieve. On one end, we say that we have the ecosystem. The other end, there is always a problem to actually grow. And in the last 2 years, 57% of the companies around the world have not met their growth objectives. And it could be several. And companies that started prior to 1980, 80% of those companies have all vanished. And the main reason for that is that they lack innovation. So today, if you talk about CEO's dismissal, the main reason of dismissal is growth. The CEO's objective, obviously, on a survey that we do is growth. So we need to make sure how do we achieve these transformational growth. And for that to happen, we see that there are a lot of pressures that are being created that's not pushing for growth. And those pressures are nicely explained in the 8 strategic imperatives that we think that's forcing people not to be able to achieve growth. We're talking about megatrends, we're talking about internal challenges, innovative business models. But the most important thing that we need to cover is about disruptive technology and industry convergence. So we think that technology is the backbone or the flagship that is going to address all of these growth challenges. We do have an abundant amount of technology that's already available. I just want to share a quick list of some of the technologies that are likely to have an impact in the next few years. So every technology that we are talking is all listed here. Just last week, the Tatas released an example of leveraging a technology called CRISPR to detect COVID quickly within 30 minutes. And that is a technology that's related to gene editing, right? So we've seen a lot of companies in India also beginning to leverage a lot of these transformative technologies that are available. And we feel we are in the right cusp at the moment to take forward these technologies into different applications. So how do we go about doing it? So for that to happen, obviously, there are a few important things that we need to cover. And today we have a panel of really eminent people that are going to discuss a few exciting things. The topic, as you all know, is very broad and has many aspects to it, which is great, which means it gives us all a lot of scope for dialogue between the panel members and with the audience. At the outset, of course, I'd like to make this discussion very specific with some case studies and other things that we have seen. So I've put together a few things that we will be covering that covers this entire topic. So let's cover the first topic related to innovation culture. The key point for discussion is India has jumped 4 places on the Global Innovation Index in 2020 to land in the 48th position. And India is now amongst the top 50 innovative countries according to WIPO. So what does this mean to India? Is India now gradually getting into a good position in terms of R&D spending? So what is it that I think related to a particular question is, have we really become a nation that truly pursues innovation or not? Not yet is the simple answer, but to get there, India needs not just to overhaul its system, but also its mindset. And that can happen only when innovation as a culture is injected into the DNA of our school education system. We need to make India a hub of innovation. And this can happen only if educational institutes compulsorily mandate to start an innovation hub. And we need to develop a culture of innovation, not just in education institutions, but private organizations. But more importantly, the push is also from government departments. We've all heard about a very nice story given about what Israel is doing. In fact, there was a study that done to determine the ability to understand math and physics by students in Israel, and they fared very poorly in it. However, the answer is that Israel's culture that's highly tolerant of out-of-box thinking, even if its education system, it brings that. And we saw a great example of how defense is fostering a lot of ideas in Israel that goes into institutions. Towards this, I would like to specifically ask Mr. Ajit, the question is, have we really become a nation that truly pursues innovation?
Let me see, can you hear me or see me? Okay. Okay, first of all, a correction on my bio. For the last 5 years, I devoted all my energies to a company called Rediff.com, you may have heard of. And our main business is to provide enterprise email solutions to large companies. Our direct competitors are Google and Microsoft. And I'm happy to report that the last 5-7 years, we win at least 40% of the cases. So we are engaged in a deep battle with 2 of the biggest giants. One of the issues in India about tech innovation is the business community, which dominates the ownership of all our business, the big Bombay Stock Exchange traded companies, most of them, the owners were all friends of mine. We kind of played cricket together in Bombay and so on. Most of them are frightened of innovation, particularly technical innovation. So if any of the kids in their office go with a technical innovation idea, they'll shoot it down saying, "Hey, it is too risky." So our biggest problem is this so-called quote unquote Baniya business owners who fight against innovation. Not much you can do because they own 90% of Indian businesses. The second, to understand, as I was telling all these guys yesterday when we did a dry run, if you want to understand what is innovation, pick up your Apple iPhone and ask yourself, who's invented what in that? You tap the screen. The touch screen is built out of a contract with the US Defense Department. The memory in it, DRAM, is built out of Defense Department. TCP/IP and the internet itself is built by the US military. Now, secondly, go to another company which all of you admire a lot, Google. Look at the doctoral dissertation of the two founders. They thank DARPA for having funded the Google founders' doctoral dissertation. Now, in other words, the US military, through its attempt to dominate the world, they have always been at the cutting edge of supporting innovation, funding at college level, startup level, particularly newer technologies. Whereas in our country, the Indian military also, like Indian business houses, are frightened of technology. Many of them, they'd have DRDO, etc. But if you look at it deeply, anything new and unfamiliar, they will shoot it down. So this is the second one. And the third one is India does not have a VC industry to speak of. All you have in India is rich kids who parents send them abroad to study in America, and they join VC companies and come here. Not one of them. I know everyone by name, father's name, mother's name. I promise you, they come and see me every time. They are frightened of technology. So they ask, the first question they will ask a young entrepreneur is, who are you? What is your business? Who are you like in America? And if you don't resemble somebody, then you can't get the money. If you resemble somebody like Google, they say, come on, you have no chance. If you resemble a complete failure, then you don't have a chance. But any genuinely Indian idea, they will shoot you down. So this is a problem. Now, I think I chaired the National Employment, National Education Policy for some reason, invited me to chair the subcommittee on employment and entrepreneurship. Before I end in the next 2 minutes, I want to point out the 3 recommendations which I've made, my committee made, which government is struggling to implement, but not yet figure out how to do it. One is to start teaching machine learning in class 8 itself, onwards, 8, 9, 10, like you teach physics and chemistry. But machine learning is the new science of today's world. I personally am trying in the process of writing the first book I can for this class 8, 9, 10 students on machine learning, but it must be taught in Indian languages. Let's not go to the English medium schools, because they're not where the real talent in India lies. I was telling them, Anand, that the number one, the most talented innovator we have in my company is a young girl in her early 30s, does not speak one word of English. She's of Gujarati origin, and she writes Python code as if it is, you and I will write Malayalam or Tamil or English. Now that I want to tell you, the real talent in India is the non-English speaking world. I also recommended, and the government has accepted, that they create a kind of internship platform where students from polytechnics and ITIs, that's where the real innovators will come from. They will not come from IITs and so on. These IIT system, which started out very well in my time, is now become jammed because the quota type people have gone and captured it. So unless you have a father who can fund your tuition from class 8 to attend special class, you won't make it into the IIT. That time we just walked in and took the test. I took a train to Trivandrum, took a test for the IIM entrance exam, and I was surprised to get a letter saying you're in the top 3. I said, what do you mean? There's nobody else better than that. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I think these are the things.
I think we have a connectivity.
I know we are already behind time. Yeah, I'm done. So I think please help contribute a good venture capital system at the very least. FICCI should be experts in this. Okay, thank you.
No, thanks a lot, Mr. Ajit.
I've not taken more than 3 minutes or 4
No, no problem at all. You're a true Atmanirbhar. That's what I was telling the others also when you started this ReDef. Good, thanks a lot. So one of the questions that actually haunt all of us is that India is known to be a value creation economy and not a value extraction economy. Our innovation policy has to shift beyond a focus on increasing R&D spending to inculcating a mindset of out-of-the-box thinking in our universities, startups, corporates, whatever it is. Which means that our education system complete needs to be redefined beyond rote learning and focus on quantitative subjects. The Atal Innovation Mission is an encouraging start, focusing on facilitating school-level financial grants to help nurture an initial layer of innovation. But we need to move beyond this to focus on the advantage on data analytics boom, improving education qualities, beyond our existing island of excellence to the whole university system, right? So we of course do have a lot of radical laws, including the Right to Information Act and a push to public data. And we also have problems related to water scarcity, air pollution metrics, etc. Right, lots of things. What would it take us to get into the top 10?
Who's this question for?
I'd like to pose this particular question to you first, Mr. Ajit.
I think first chart might say number 1, teach machine learning to class 8, 9, 10 in Indian languages and wait for 5 years, you'll have an explosion. Secondly, work with me, we'll create an Indian venture capital system which is not, which is not connected to the American and British and Japanese and Chinese one. Independently, an Indian venture capital system. So these two will solve it.
Okay, thanks a lot and appreciate it. So let me quickly kind of ride on to Akila on the education policies. So the recently launched National Education Policy envisages the much needed systematic change in the education system and promises to overhaul the rigid matrix that we are following at the moment. On the other hand, we also have a heavy shortage in terms of teachers, right? Indian student to teacher ratio is about 30:1, one of the lowest in the globe. And in urban cities, it can go up to 60:1, right? How are we going to be bridging the teacher-student gap? And are we doing enough to invest and create high-quality faculty and institutions? Anita, this is for you. I think you need to be a little louder. We are not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. It's still feeble.
Let me try to speak louder. Are you hearing me now?
A little louder, please. A little louder.
Okay. Yeah, I got your question. See, it's not just about teacher availability. So we have to talk about the entire ecosystem of education. If we are, trying to target something so big like Mr. Ajit has also just spoken to us about. But then the point is, because why I say that is because if it is teachers, you would just go recruiting more teachers for.
And your voice is feeble.
I'm on my maximum.
Yeah, okay.
Huh? So maybe, can you give me a moment? I might just switch off the, the AC for example. So do you hear me better now?
Yeah, a bit better.
Okay. You see, these fans and ACs are really loud. So, yeah. So I was just saying that, it cannot, it cannot be just teachers, because if it is teachers, what would happen is the typical reaction would be to hire more teachers for a particular subject. Say, this artificial intelligence or computer science or whatever that you think we need now. And when you do that, definitely what we see, especially in the hard to reach pockets, is that there is not real good rationalization of those teachers. Even if these teachers are available, they are available in the urban areas. They are available in certain pockets, not where they are really, needed and to build the innovativeness or creativity of students. But they are elsewhere. So having teachers is only one part of the whole thing. Whereas what I think we need to do is make teachers teach children how to learn. This every teacher can do. You don't need only special teachers to do that. Every teacher can be trained to make students understand how to learn whatever they are learning. Not a particular subject, but the how part of it. That is where I think this creative learning or experiential learning, all of these things become very important. And if you see, for example, the National Education Policy in 1986 and then 92, we really did not know that there was the disruptive technology, internet was going to play for us. But in these few years, we've seen how much the internet has done. And perhaps even now, we are not really knowing how much artificial intelligence can do for our education system. Today morning, I was listening into, the Secretary of E-Governance, and he was telling us what Tamil Nadu is doing with artificial intelligence. And one of the things that he explained in education was, that the attendance system is going to be done electronically, which they find will be saving up at least 45 minutes of a teacher's time. So there are things that Tamil Nadu is also thinking of. But then what I feel is, okay, thank you for putting this diagram up. So what I mean by making teachers teach how to learn is, this particular diagram called the life skills education, where if I can walk you through, if you can just make the child be aware, the purple box, which says learning to be, make the child self-aware, connect to the education, connect to the classroom, connect to the children around, and, communicate in positive ways with people around you, able to express your emotions or express your challenges and difficulties, and, build resilience or coping with stress. I think that's really where our children are suffering now. Many children are ambitious, but then, a little failure really drops them far down. And, you see that there are so many cases of suicidal tendencies among children. So first of all, I think the teacher should make a child learn to be. That's really important for doing whatever the child wants to do later in life or even now. And then I go to the brown box where, a teacher can make a child to develop critical thinking, to develop creativity and problem solving skills, because this is again going to connect the child to the world that there are so many rapid changes in the world, and whatever changes are going to happen in the next few years, whatever disruptive technologies are going to take our children to whatever heights, they should learn to know how of it. Then I go to the green box where we talk about negotiation, cooperation, decision making. I think again this is a life skill which is really relevant for the 21st century that we are living in. And then this will then take us to live with others with more empathy and participation. So when we are talking about digital, there's a lot of digital divide now, basically because of our economic status. There are people poor parents cannot afford this internet time, data time, etc. So what happens is the social divide is representing itself in the digital divide as well. So I think teachers can really play a big role in those areas. If I can summarize it like that for the first round of the question.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Akila. That really kind of answers a few of the challenges that we have. And we'll, of course, specifically talk about talent building and what is it that UNICEF is doing to actually promote that. But interestingly, I'd like to also bring Mr. Chandramouli into the conversation associated with this in terms of talent building and what is it that we need to do? How do we actually determine the next wave of what we have to do? And what does it take to develop such an ecosystem in India, right? We talk about Silicon Valley's innovative strength. We talk about how many Indians are working there. We see that Indian talent has supported the Valley, and many of the top companies there are now being headed by people of Indian origin. So what does it take to develop such an ecosystem in India? One. Two, time and again, we keep talking about brain drain becoming a cause of concern for India. That's high quality professionals leave the country for better opportunities. What do we do to reverse or arrest this brain drain? So I'd like Mr. Chandramouli, of course, to give his perspective, both from the healthcare side as well as overall to guide us through the wisdom that he has in this space.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks, Vicky, for the opportunity. I would rather constrain myself to what I do from a healthcare perspective, although I can give you a broader idea. The last 6 years plus, I've been more or less focused on the healthcare space. What I really see is the post-COVID, the scenario has completely dramatically changed with a lot of digital adoption. To give you a couple of examples, I think we already have this Arogya Setu, which is one of the world's largest community app today, which is already an open source. Actually, the government itself has made it open source. I think from an innovation perspective, I think it has been truly remarkable that country could put in together enormous efforts and made it for a larger use. The second thing is also looking at healthcare from an outsider perspective, because I'd largely been in the financial services space before joining Shankara Nethralaya. I think why it is largely difficult compared to other industries is, you would still need a medical professional to certify what you do from a tech standpoint. And it cannot stand the test of all the conventional wisdom without a large amount of data. So with what Ajit was just talking about, teaching machine learning right from grade 8 and things like that, it makes it all more relevant that there has to be a right blend of partnership between the tech leaders and with the healthcare organizations. The right blend of technology and healthcare providers working together to incubate new products. Actually, rightly so, what we did was around 3.5 years ago, we started a Center for Innovation in Ophthalmic Technology. Although we are more centered towards eye, I think we centered around our innovation around what we can do in the ophthalmology area. And we had partnered with some very large institutions, the likes of TCS in India, with Google globally actually, where the world's first diabetic retinopathy algorithm, which can predict an outcome of a disease based upon a medical imaging, had been done. And it's largely free for use in India. So from a cost standpoint, I think it's completely disruptive. From an innovation standpoint, I think it is largely unheard of to get into something as disruptive as diagnosis based upon a medical imaging. I think these are things which have dramatically changed in the last few years. And there are many such initiatives working with industry leaders in each one of these areas. And from what we really see today in the typical IT parlance, there is a lot of focus on digital e-commerce, things like that. I think the market, particularly post-COVID, is already on the verge of exploding. And also India's spend on healthcare is been very paltry, less than 2%. And it is bound to grow to around 2.5% to 3% at best in the next 2 to 3 years. But despite that, I think we are talking about somewhere around $200+ billion of spend likely to come in and grow beyond that actually. So we are already seeing some metered space, particularly on the commerce area, particularly Amazon and others getting into the e-pharmacy. And most importantly, I think the landmark event had been the announcement of the National Digital Health Mission, which is for the first time in the country, there is a focus towards getting organized our data into something which will be more interoperable, which could drive a lot more transformation and innovation in healthcare services in the next 3 to 5 years. The irony is, no, we couldn't really predict any disease outcome or disease outbreak because we don't have any national database right now. I think these are changing. The next 3 years to 5 years, what we really see is we may be sitting on one of the world's largest healthcare ecosystem, which could completely transform. Or whatever we know so far, we don't know right now. I think it's a little early to say how it is going to play, but I think largely we are going to see is a tsunami of data coming around, and that could itself transform many of these into completely different. And the most important good news is all these things are going to be using open source technology, which is driven by CDAC. I think we heard Ajit talking about military driving the technology. I think thankfully in this case, you're putting up a health, completely a technology which is driven by the government in the first place. And second thing is all these things are going to be open as an open available stack, where the individual players are really going to contribute towards collecting data, making sense out of data and things like that. And there is a lot amount of focus on interoperability and standards rather than on which technology you are supposed to lead. I think these are initiatives which are really forthcoming. Skills-wise, I think we all know it's a little hard right now from a medicine world. There is shortage everywhere, right from entry-level jobs to the most highly skilled jobs of including doctors and things like that. I think with this in mind, I think even the technology disruption that we are really seeing, particularly, is also driving, connecting some of these challenges into usage of technology, where for the first time in the country, we saw the growth of telemedicine. Between April to July, we saw around 5 crore Indians using telemedicine in some way or the other, which is a quantum jump. There is a 700% increase in the teleophthalmology area itself. In fact, in Shankara Nethralaya itself, in the last 5 months, we crossed 10,000 teleconsultations, which is unheard of because we had been pushing the doctors, we had been pushing the patients, but never ever it had occurred to them that you can really connect and do the basic disruption using connecting the divide, actually bridging the divide. I think telemedicine is on a huge upswing right now. Hopefully, I think we think this is going to sustain because with all the post-pandemic, still now we have the lockdowns and all the connect is quite a challenge. So I think we could see some of these things getting mainstream. So digital, whether we like it or not, are going to really make our lives a lot more, I would say definitely easier in some extent, but it's also going to make it a little more harder for certain industries. Particularly, we may require a lot of medical evidence before we can really get into diagnosis and things like that. I think that is where innovation is going to really play a different role. AI particularly could really get rid of some of the mundane work, but it make the job of the doctors and those associated in the healthcare make it a little more smarter than what we are right now. I think these are things which are bound to change. I think pandemic had driven a lot of things that what we could not have done in the last 5 years, we could rather see it happening in the last 5 to 6 months.
Correct. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Mr. Chandramouli. Yes, I just wanted to give 2 perspectives that I was able to gather over the last few weeks, including your own insight about what the pandemic has driven. One is I had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Devi Shetty, Dr. Devi Shetty, who owns Narayan Hridayalaya. He said that there is a resurgent use of telemedicine now. The fact that telemedicine has been in India for 20 years, but it has never got the approval from the government until the pandemic hit us. So the government has just approved that as a medium to diagnose. So it's taken 20 years to get that. And that's the reason you see a surge related to it. The second one that caught my attention about the new tools that we're talking, right? Machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other things. One of the important trends that's happening in the imaging industry is the smart imaging space. So today we have 2 challenges associated with it. The first challenge is we've got more and more of these imaging pictures that are coming, right? Radiologists are not there in enough quantity to actually review that. And that's where machine learning and all these AI-based algorithms are assisting in quick decision making. So there's one particular company, an Indian company called Cure.ai. I don't know if you've heard already about it, but that's the company that's based in Mumbai that's doing phenomenal work in this particular space, able to identify COVID patients quickly using an algorithm, right? So we have some of these innovations, which is just restricted to few cities. But what it does is it kind of changes the perception of all of us, right? It looks up at newer opportunities that we have for our people of the future. Today, we read news items that data scientists are limited in India. We are in short by 80 to 90,000 data scientists. So there's a lot of potential for people that look into that particular space as a potential career opportunity. I have with me, of course, a person who's multifaceted, both on the hardware and software side, Mr. Jangu Dalal. He is, of course, as you all know, has got a very good, prolific background about it. Our theme is associated to so many areas, but one of the important areas that we are all talking about today is the future of work, right? And we are talking about how we can leverage people staying remote. Classic case, like Mr. Rajaram said yesterday, is that we are able to make this particular conference go virtual. All of us are sitting in the comforts of our home and able to deliberate on so many meaningful topics, bringing all the people who are experts on this particular panel. So Mr. Jangu Dalal, I leave the floor to you to talk about a few things that you see are changing the way society thinks about what work of the future would look like.
Thank you, Anand, and it's a pleasure being on this very nice, diverse, and illuminary panel. And I've been listening into some of the FICCI panel discussions earlier as well, and extremely insightful. You know, the question you've asked me is about the future of the workplace. I think for many years now, we've been talking about changes, and we would have all attended many sessions and webinars, maybe even in person over the last 1-2 years, where everybody's talking about technology is going to change the world. It's happening, it's happening. But I think in some ways, the pandemic, which hit India, you know, when it hit, nobody knows, let's say March onwards, and the last 6 months that we've lived through it, I would say in some ways kind of been an inflection point in accelerating a lot of these things. And before I get into technology and future, which is my domain, I would also like to take a small tangent and, you know, all of us to think about what is the real India. To my mind, India is a country of great dichotomies, and large part of our workforce, our employees, people who earn their livelihoods are actually quote unquote in the indirect sector. And this is real, this pandemic oriented changes are really going to impact those people. So before we come back to the future, I would just like to take an example which all of us on this panel and most participants on this webinar would be familiar with, which is our technology, IT industry. Our IT industry by various counts is about 4.5 million people involved in it in terms of a direct manner. Coders, programmers, people who face clients, etc. But for every one IT person, there are 3 indirect employee kind of jobs which are created. You know, the whole people who keep the infrastructure machine running, the support staff, etc. You know, from the guy who runs the bus to the security to the pantry, etc. So that's a 1:3 ratio. So 4.5, you do a quick math, it's about 13.5 million. Now, if the pandemic and what we're hearing more and more IT companies saying 10%, 20%, 50%, 100% are going to work from home. Let's take a median of even 30%. If that 14 million staff is reduced, the support staff, you know, I gave you the math, by 30%, you know, this pandemic is, besides the future of work, is also going to bring a lot of challenges in what we do with the skilled workers, not so skilled workers, etc. So now that's another different topic, but I thought I should bring it up that whilst we talk about technology, and that's the mandate of this panel, there's this whole indirect workforce, which is also going to get impacted in a very large manner. Having said that, I think the pandemic's a great inflection point, as Chandramouli and before that Ajit mentioned in terms of accelerating a lot of things. I run now a SaaS platform, a software as a service platform, and I speak to a lot of people. Now, I think the fundamental issue in terms of innovation and scale and reaching larger markets, and I was listening to the previous session as well, where they talked about Israel and China, where India fits in, is one of the problems we have comes from our strength, which is our large domestic population. Since you have this large domestic population, everybody gets very enamored by the quote unquote large domestic market. And then when we do innovation, whether it's on a B2C, B2B, or whatever tech we are doing, our mindset is so India-centric that we miss out on the global market. And if you look at the examples of China, Israel, and China is more similar to us, and Israel is a standing example as well. All of these have succeeded only because they've addressed the global market. So I think in terms of the future of the work, what's getting accelerated, I think if more and more mid to small to medium sized innovative technology companies blossom and bloom, and as Ajit said, if the VC industry gets a bit more democratized and fraternized, and if these people bloom and start addressing the global market, that's where the real future of India lies. There is no doubt that tech is going to get more and more digital, things are going to get more and more virtual, but that also is a great advantage, and I hope as a country we take advantage of that advantage, sorry for the alliteration, of embracing global markets. I'll just give you a small example of a friend I was talking to. He's built a small financial platform, a SaaS platform to address these financial services market in the US. He's completely focused on the US market. He's got a SaaS product and they're scaling rapidly. Now, he was telling me that in his company, the most valuable resource in terms of the payment he does, the most highly paid resource is a gentleman who's actually sitting in the suburbs of Patna. So we're talking of Bihar, and then we're talking of Patna and the suburbs of Patna. He's the most highly paid resource in this SaaS company, and he's a client-facing person addressing the US market. So I feel that given all the dichotomies that we have and all the challenges we face, in our limited IT environment, scope of this panel, etc., if we can collectively and policy can enable, say, thousands of mid-sized companies to bloom and blossom, and they all have a global mindset, that's maybe where the panacea for our larger future of India lies. I won't get into what is digital, and we've got a very elite panel and good participants. But to Ajit's point earlier and to what Chandramouli said, digital, and if I may add, if somehow in our education and innovation culture, we have a global mindset, which China and Israel and Korea and all others have adapted from day one, and not get enamored by this great Indian market, we have probably made some progress.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jambu. That's quite inspirational to hear. So lastly, I'd just like to bring Mr. Ajit to quickly talk to us about the National Internship Platform that he's been part of.
Chance of putting that slide up? No?
Yeah.
I'll take less than 2 minutes to explain it, guys. This is my recommendations to the Education Policy Committee, and they're struggling to understand this still. But the core of it is, if you look at the IIM system from which I came from, I was a student and later chairman of the Board of Governors for 2 terms, 5 years each. The success of placement is because on summer placement, the employers get to meet the young person, and 90% of the offers come from summer placement. Now, today, what we need to do is create a national internship platform, and the focus has to be on ITIs and polytechnics and the not so famous engineering colleges. It is put them all together so that employers can meet people out of sheer quality and create what are network effects. I'd also, being from the digital era, I said the student data must be protected, so build it on solid architecture. So I think, if you guys have worked with government policymakers, nod the head, appreciate it, clap sometimes. But I suspect this has been filed away in Shastri Bhavan somewhere, waiting for, because what happens is people change there too fast. In the 10 years I was chairman of the board of IIM Calcutta, I saw 8 higher education secretaries and 7 ministers. So they're not there long enough to implement. But this is something that we need to implement, particularly to make sure that ITIs and polytechnics, which contain some of the brightest students in India, it's that they're not in IITs and IIMs because the parents are not wealthy enough to give them, send them to quota and things of that kind. Very, very bright people. And this will be run in all Indian languages as well. So, have a look at it, and hopefully one day we'll all have the courage to implement it and get the real talent in India, which is lying in small towns and areas. They don't come from posh colleges and things. The real breakthrough people come from all over India. Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Somebody spoke about collective infusion, and I think this is what is going to take us to that particular position. All right. So I know the earlier panel did not have enough time for question and answers, but I think there are a number of questions that are being posed by the people. So I'd request Mr. Srikanth to see if he can call them out and to whom it's directed, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Anand, and thank you, panelists, for a wonderful insight into each of the areas. Being into 3D printing, and we have people into stalls with 3D printing. There's also a question from me before I give the questions from the others, is that how do you see in the national internship platform, Mr. Ajit, the desktop 3D printing evolving and manufacturing, and how do you think that that can play a role for ITIs and polytechnics to actually do things using 3D printing, and how is the future of manufacturing going to be Atmanirbhar?
Who's addressed to? I'm sorry.
It is to you, Mr. Ajit.
It's addressed to you, Mr. Ajit. Yeah.
Okay, future of manufacturing. I'm tempted to write an article saying India's manufacturing fantasies. I think manufacturing was a big deal till I think about 20 years ago. Today, manufacturing of planes and warships and tanks and so on. Today, there's an urgent need to switch the thinking from manufacturing to making sure that we get breakthrough products using software. It's easier if somebody attacks a banking system through cyber attack and brings down a banking system for 15 days. It will cause more damage than dropping an atomic bomb on our head here in Bombay. I promise you. So I think we should get off this manufacturing obsession. I have a feeling that it's an obsession. It's not real. I know we feel that we need to make all those poor slave boys from scheduled castes, give them a job in a factory. That's not true. The future belongs to digital, and you need to make sure they are equipped to do digital work. And manufacturing, for example, the value added to a mobile phone in the assembly process is 5% of the total value added. It does not matter. 95% of the value added is in software. So I would urge you to rethink the manufacturing obsession that we have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ajit. Mr. Anand, this is a common question from Peter. You can point it to the right panelist. Is the Indian industry limiting innovation only to its captive labs? How is Indian industry tapping into the enormous range of innovation ideas that might exist in individual minds in the country? Is there a model for crowdsourcing innovation from concept to monetization?
Sure. So, Mr. Jangu Dalal, would you like to take it, or Mr. Chandramouli? Because this is quite broad.
I can start off. Yeah, Chandra, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to bring to attention a couple of things, particularly on the health space, because of what I'm trying to do now. I think there is one major step that has been taken by the government is to move into some open data related stuff, actually. I think which helps people to get into a lot more innovation, because the biggest challenges you really see in the healthcare is coming out products that takes a hell lot of a time, whether it's in medicine or in terms of anything beyond vaccine. I think there are a lot of other challenges which requires data. I think the Open Data Initiative is something that could be a part of the answer, that what you can really see in medicine, particularly in healthcare in India. I think that's something for us to remember, but it may take another 2 to 3 years, because it's all a question of collecting data, normalizing it, and most importantly, denormalizing based upon consent. I think the National Digital Mission's sole the crux of the whole National Digital Missions initiatives is around an architecture called consent-driven architecture. So the patient can really exercise his right to share data, and if he has a right to, if he can share the data, there could be possibly some incentives. The incentives could also lead into reduction in cost or being a candidate for a clinical trial and so on and so forth. I think there are a lot of innovation that could potentially come down the line. Actually, this is very, very disruptive to what we all know so far. I'll just go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is a question from Subhashri Anantaraman to Mr. Ajit. As you say, the real talent is found in non-English speaking. There are, I think you answered this already. The talented adults who get rejected by the companies for their poor English is something that can be done to provide them with opportunities.
I don't know the answer. I wish we could. And in some ways, the internship platform is a way in which you could match, introduce them to companies. I think, I don't know where we got this hang up about English, which has got reinforced after the body shopping industry took off in India, where you don't need to do any computer science. You just speak English, you go and sit in a customer's location and say interesting things, they'll pay you every month. So, but we need to do something. My heart is in it, but I don't have a ready-made answer to this.
Hopefully, we'll find an answer soon,
Yeah.
Mr. Ajit, with your help. And the question is from Chidambaram to Mrs. Akila. Ms. Akila, how are we planning to make teachers knowledgeable with the way technologies are changing drastically, or the technology is changing drastically? What is the plan to enrich their knowledge? Most of the schools are lagging. There is something we need to address immediately. Please give your thoughts on how the organization is working with government is going to change or need to change. Ms. Akila?
So the host isn't allowing me to
No,
join.
now we are able to
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah,
Madam.
thank you. Yeah, there is a lot of teacher training that's happening across the country, especially in this COVID time when digital learning has become the new normal. There is this Diksha platform and the Swayam platform, which are under the Ministry of Human Resource Development, now called the Department of Education. Several teachers hook onto it, and they do get trained. But ultimately, it's not just about training for technological pickup. It's about the mindset. Like I said, for students, the teachers also need to connect to the education and to its expectations. Otherwise, because the technology part of education as yet is not talking about the affective or the psychomotor skills of students that need to be developed by education. So as of now, the training, even if there is a training, it's all about how to prepare your PowerPoint or how to transact your lesson in a way that is digitally transferable. So I think we need to go a lot more on that. Again, I think this life skills training is going to be the game changer for our education system.
Yeah, the one more question to you, ma'am, again from Balki TV. In education parlance, technology innovation has the triangular points. One, a teaching community, tech competency. Second, its students' adaptability to changing modes of learning and affordability to have tech infrastructure. And third, content of teaching. Showing PDF of the book may not be the right way. EdTech works on not all the 3 points. Please give us your expertise and view how to cover the ED ecosystem effective on tech-driven world.
Yeah, I saw this question on the chat box. Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, it is we also talk about another triangle in education, which is the access, equity, and quality. This is more or less matching to that, because it's not just enough to have the demand and supply of teachers or the tech books or whatever you call it. Again, I think we have to look at technological innovation along with social innovation. innovation. Social innovation cannot be pushed to the back burner because of technological innovation. I'm just reminded to recall a quote by Tagore, which I had wrote down yesterday when I was preparing, and I think it's time to say that. You know, he has said that I do not want my house to be walled on all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. So I think this is what I think we should keep in mind when we are picking up these technological innovations that are around us from different countries. But we need to really, customize it to our culture and to our people. And I think then, many of these triangles will really come on as a straight line, and we'll be able to progress forward.
Thank you, ma'am. There's a question from Mr. Prashant of Rice 3D to Mr. Ajit. Dear Mr. Ajit, good afternoon. Why don't we introduce course on additive manufacturing for upgrading skills at all technical education centers? Isn't the future of manufacturing to set up centers of excellence on additive manufacturing at every college?
Good thought. You know, I am personally not that deeply familiar with additive manufacturing. It sounds like a great idea, but since I do not know much about that specific specialty, I will go and study it and maybe send you an email. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Anand, that's
Thank you.
about the questions we
Yeah.
have. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks a lot, Shrikant, and thanks a lot to the entire panel out here. I think just to summarize, initially, of course, we were all talking about what Mr. Ajit said in terms of trying to have the defense infrastructure to kind of develop those technologies and then give it to the students, universities, startups, fine-tune them. And then, of course, we had a very nice perspective on the education setup, as well as what it takes for children to be more motivated to do instead of rote, perhaps do learning and skilling, which is a teacher-student kind of a ratio. And specifically, when Mr. Chandramouli spoke about big data, digitization, what's happening around a specific area in the healthcare space and how it actually applies, leveraging all of these data that is available. And our general direction is to go towards software-enabled future. And that's what Mr. Ajit also said, to kind of build our core competence in things that we know, because the large guys like the Kawasaki's or the Boeings, they know how to develop all those things. And it will take another 15, 20 years for that kind of infrastructure to come to India, simply because we don't have the material, neither do we have access to clean rooms and other things that actually necessitates the development of manufacturing technologies. But from a 3D printing, additive manufacturing setup, yes, a lot of composites, because there are a lot of megatrends that are driving that particular change, right? We are seeing lightweighting and other concepts that are coming. Everything is to kind of look up at how it will reduce the burden on the infrastructure, as well as reduce all these carbon intensive kind of projects that we are currently going. So we are looking up at decentralization, decarbonization, and digitization as the future. And that's where the complete world is going towards. And of course, Mr. Jangu also very clearly said that talent needs no boundaries. It can be in remote locations, and still we'll be able to get of our return on investment on this. So it's only difficult for us to identify where this particular talent is available. But being in the digital domain, I'm sure the world today has given us a lot of opportunities to start our own YouTube channels, to be available on Facebook or many of these social media platforms that allows us a greater opportunity than what was available maybe 30 years ago. So with that, I think I would like to thank all of the panelists, Mr. Ajit, Mr. Jangu Dalal, Mr. Chandramouli, as well as Ms. Akila, for giving us a good perspective associated with this. And thanks to you, Shrikant, for moderating many of these questions. And of course, to Fiki and Rajaram specifically for doing this wonderful session virtually, which is many of these firsts. So thanks a lot, and over to you, Mr. Rajaram. I think we are on the hour and on time.
Thank you very much, Anand.
Thank you, Mr. Anand.
Mr. Jangu Dalal, Mr. Ms. Akila, as well as Mr. Chandramouli, for a very enlightening and insightful session. Thank you very much. We will be in touch with you. There are some very radical ideas which have been propounded. We will try to convey it to the Tamil Nadu government as well as through our Delhi office. We will see what kind of influence we can have influencing this. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
Thank you all the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Over to you, Srikanth, for the valedictory session.
Yes, Senthil.
Over to Senthil.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Srikanth. Thanks, Rajaram, sir, and all the panelists for the panel discussion, for your wonderful insight that you have provided to us, to all the audience who are part of here, and you have really kindled the thoughts during this session. Yeah, and now we are into validity section. So to facilitate this validity section, we have Dr. C. Velan, who's here along with us. So to just give a quick brief about Dr. Velan. He's currently working as city head, city operations, Chennai operations, and pan-India head for property management at Ascendas India, formerly Capital and India, a Singapore-based organization and involved in its IT and industrial park establishments. Earlier, he was working at Tata Realty Infrastructure Limited as CEO for Trill's flagship project, Ramanujan IT City in Chennai, and successfully established as one of the most happening IT projects in India. Regarding his qualifications, he had graduated in civil and structural engineering, the post-graduation in business administration, as well as ecology and environment. He holds a PhD degree in civil engineering and for the research work. He mainly focused on an area which is based on the need of the hour subject, which is sustainable design of green buildings. On his professional demeanor, Dr. Velan has more than 30 years of corporate experience with blue chip Indian and overseas companies that include Eicher Motors, Colorchem, CB Richard Ellis, and Ascendas. His recognitions were fellowship from Indian Green Building Council. He has also been part of executive committee board member in Indian Green Buildings Congress, best CEO of the year from Construction Infrastructure Architect World Magazine. And he is a real estate professional of the year 2015 from CMO Asia, Singapore. He was awarded with Professor of Eminence from Manoன்maniam Sundararayan University, and he is also adjunct faculty at SRM University, Chennai. He is a member of MRICS, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. He presented and published various papers both in national and international journals and conferences. So we are very happy to welcome you. During this validatory session, we would request you to address how technology is enabling new possibilities in the construction industry and how the future is going to be, which is the, need of the hour. How it will create new opportunities for technology folks, including the startups, in terms of jobs, requirements, etc.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure. Thanks once again, Mr. Rajaram and the Vicky, Sudarshan, and everyone. This is more than saying this, what I'm going to deliver. I have seen that, earlier two sessions, I was also listening to them, and how this education, digital, and all those in various sectors, it is helping. It's an opportunity for me also to speak about little bit that sector, which is not that much popular with the digital or technology oriented operations. That's what I thought. Okay, we need to touch it upon. So the real estate sector, probably you all know about it, has a large volume of both employment point of view as well as economical point of view. It helps a lot in the country. If you look at it, that there are various developments like commercial sector, real estate sector, retail, entertainment. You can call it as hospitality sector, many. And I will talk about only one sector now because it will also, it will also relate to other sectors. So I'll talk about the commercial sector, which is what most of these technology people are also involved with, which is IT parks, commercial offices, the banking, financial, insurance sector, operating campuses. This is generally called a commercial sector. When you look at it in India, we have currently about 600+ million square feet of commercial buildings, actually. Yeah. In terms of volume, it is huge. What it means, it has happened the last 2 decades or 1.5 decades. It was not that familiar in the past. It used to be independent building, 3 floor, 4 floor, like that. It has become a popular sector for the growth of the country over a period of last 1 or 2 decades. I can say the last decade, it was the substantial growth was witnessed. This is the background of real estate sector. When you come to how much it is connecting with the technology, if you look at it, if comparatively, the lowest level of technology use or digital use today is the real estate sector. Having said that, is it so at this current scenario or in the last few years? No. The industry has become very, very focusing in terms of technological innovations, and also digital interference is always there in this industry. That is why we are able to survive in this market. Actually, whomever is having a kind of a focus on digital technology intervention in their business, they can only survive. That is a statistics. I have read some article recently. Beyond 2021, whosoever is not prepared to adopt all those things, they are not going to exist that well in the market. Already, if you look at it, the pandemic also has given opportunity. See, always, every 4 years, this industry goes ups and downs. It experiences the ups and downs in terms of demand and kind of challenges. But when you look at this kind of pandemic also, it has also added the opportunity for the industry to focus on technological intervention, digital focus, or lots of innovative interferences in this particular industry. I mean, a few things I want to touch it upon. See, when you talk about in real estate, there are 3 phases of construction. One, pre-construction phase. Second one, during construction phase. And third one is post-construction phase. In all the phases, today, the technology is very much in use. If you talk about the design, for instance, everything is now digitalized. No old, only AutoCAD used to be there, or some softwares used to be there. Or piecemeal basis, we used to have a lot of softwares to do that STAT design, structural design, MEP design, this kind of green building design and all. But it has become a kind of situation today. We have lots of technological solutions available for designing phase, which helps foolproof mechanism. When we design, we used to have a lot of factor of safety. It means we designed 150 times 150% or 200% on factor of safety in terms of structural design, in terms of any kind of MEP, chillers or other things. Now, because of the technology, you can design it in such a way there is no such kind of wastages that are required too. So that is that in the design phase. When you call about construction phase, lots of advantages here. See, real-time monitoring of the progress, which is also I used to speak to Rajaram in the past one of the occasions. There is a project in Chennai, and there is a plan as per the initial planning phase. And what is the reality? It doesn't normally used to be the same in construction industry. Plan versus actual will never be the same. It used to be the situation. Now, because of this time-lapse video, real-time monitoring of the project, it is a kind of a data gathering and analytics which provides a real-time progress across wherever you are in the world. You can able to monitor the project and also do that correction. See, it is not just to monitor alone. It also provides you the opportunity to modify the resource deployment or control mechanisms, all those things also, which helps the progress of the project. When you come to the operational phase, which is the largest, the major activity, if you ask me, day-to-day operations, the technological interventions are helping a lot. And adding this pandemic situation, it has also added a little more responsibility for the developers today to go with a lot of digital and technological solutions for touchless operations. For example, when the employees see, I just want to connect here a little bit. I mean, where they say today, if you look at the technology, IT offices, operations and all, even factories started operating with 75% strength, 100% strength and all. IT offices are not operative at all in the city, Chennai or most of the major cities. Why? There is a kind of a huge volume of employees working in a confined air conditioning office, large buildings and all those things. That is some sort of threat in their minds of the employees or that office operating companies and all, to that the even big corporates, you can call it. They're all a little bit hesitant of bringing the people inside. Why? Because there is a fear in that. But for that, there are in construction industry, real estate sector, what happens is we have lots of solutions which has come in place. This pandemic situation has also provided us lots of opportunities to innovate a lot of features which provides for the people to coming from that entrance of the premise to their office and then back home. Till that time, there are lots of areas where they will have to have the physical connect. All those things have been made as a touchless solutions kind of thing. We have found a lot of innovative solutions in the recent past, and which also provides lots of opportunities for the startup. I was listening to the conversation in the earlier sessions, actually. The startup companies, if you look at it, lot of opportunities available even for them to continue to do a lot of innovative solutions for construction industry, even in the operational phase also at this point of time. Having said that, are we prepared to that kind of situation? Are we ready for that kind of situations? It all depends on the startup companies, or a lot of students coming out of the colleges, or the institutions who are preparing that, the students also for becoming entrepreneurs. That those are the things which I personally feel in construction industry we have to focus, and we have lots of opportunities in construction sector without taking much of your time. In summary, I put it actually, in all phases of construction, in all phases of what I can say, right from conceptualization to the operational phase, we have a lot of opportunities today available, which is abundantly available because this industry, real estate industry, has so far used that kind of intervention, technological intervention, digital intervention, very minimum level. It means this sector is next to agriculture sector in terms of volume of employment that provides, as well as a lot of people it connects, right from individual residential residence buyer onwards, going to retail onwards, going to that office, you name anything, it connects in all segments of the people actually. So there is an opportunity available for the students, for the startup companies, or young entrepreneurial, interested people. They can always come forward in this industry, which provides lots of opportunity. Yeah, so that is where I stop, because there are a lot of other customary things are also available, I know. And I personally put it, or plant a seed that you have lots of opportunities in construction sector, real estate sector, to do a lot of innovative solutions as a startup company. Yes, Rajaram, you have something to say?
No, see, while people are talking about work from home and other the diamond, but you are going to be building a huge facility. So can you talk about how you are going about it? And
very good, sir. Actually, when you talk about work from home, I don't know. I may be sounding a little selfish because I'm in the developer segment, but I'm telling you, it is not going to be the long-term solution for that IT business. Because we are culturally, we are all socially connected people. We cannot work in isolation, right? That is what we are made up of. Indian employees in particular, I can put it actually, we are all socially connected. We cannot just confine ourselves. It is not going to be the successful attempt, even if any company is looking for, or any individual is looking for long-term. Probably, I respect that it is a short-term solution for the fear or anxiety, whatever we have. But having said that, as you asked Mr. Rajaram, you talk about the building. The building is where an individual employee is spending almost 45 to 50% of his day in office, right? When they come to, that means what? On the travel time, it may be about 2-3 hours or 1 or 2 hours. And then if you look at it, their sleeping hours, everything you remove it, their major time is spent in the office actually. So it means what? It already, when we designed the building, like a Capital and Ascenders and all, you know, Tata Realty, Raman, where I was associating earlier, it used to be at night and not a workplace also. It is a place to work, live, play kind of situation we create. It provides every facility. Adding to that, the responsibility came to us now. That pandemic one, which it helped us to learn little more and come up with a lot of solutions, mean that I mentioned here, right from entrance onwards. For example, we have the scanners. We don't have physical scanners. It is something like a digital scanner. The people can just walk. The vehicle can be scanned. The people, the employees coming in, they will just walk only. The temperature is scanned. The person is scanned automatically through digital scanners, which is also protecting the data. If anybody has a little bit of variation in temperature, or there is even, I tested with some sort of a hot water carrying with that one of the employees we carry. You know, when the temperature automatically changes, we tested in many ways. Is it a foolproof mechanism or not? You know, which has been implemented in the existing campus itself in Chennai. What we are doing in the new project, which we are coming up also, which is going to have this kind of physical scanners as well as digital scanners. When you go to the lift system, that is where another opportunity for the people to touch the button, the panel, the floor button, right? So we have found the first time, we have found an immediate solution, foot operative panels actually. If you want to choose that floor, you can able to press that using the foot, which is also having either chapel or shoe, whatever it is. So you are not having a physical connect. Now the digital solutions have come, like, you know, a virtual display. You can see those things have been brought in. That is what recently the lift manufacturers have come up with lots of innovative solutions. You don't have to touch that. It will be virtual board coming up. You can touch the floor. All those things have come in. Apps have been introduced. That kind of things are going to be there. And next is already there also in our campus. Number 3, all that wash basins, closets and toilets, everything is sensor based. It is not going to be physically, you know, you need to touch that wash basin tap or even the health faucet and all. These are the things are going to be very innovative, and those are the things which is going to help. On top of everything, there is a seriousness in the air conditioning system, which people are little worried about it, right? So there is a system called a UVGI system, which has been already put in place in all the existing campuses of ours and many other developers also. That is in the AHU level itself, which kills the germs and whatever it is at that AHU level itself. It doesn't travel inside the office. Even some people have some sort of coughing inside the office or something like that. That also the air circulates coming back to that air AHUs and go back to the office. There it is getting killed. So all those measures are put in place in addition to the usual water treatment, sewage treatment, and all the measures. Yes, Mr. And also the one more important thing is that earlier it used to be a little bit of space per person, which used to be minimal. When you are calling it a services, IT services and all, they used to put up 70 square foot per person or something, and average is 65 and all. Now there is a mindset with IT companies also understanding the sensitivity. We are also taking that design of all the whatever that utilities slightly more than what is required per person. It is, if it is 1:65 you have, we provide it a 1:75, 85 kind of thing, so that you have more space per person. In terms of air circulation, it will also help. Yeah,
there are 2-3 comments as you were speaking. One, Peter, he says, great point from Dr. Velan. I see negative consequences for home-based remote learning because it avoids social connect among the student community. Young school children cannot afford to learn in a socially insular environment. Then Subhashri Anantaraman makes another point. He said, Dr. Velan, work from home has resulted in depression to many and may lead to multiple disorders. And unfortunately, the doctors are not reachable in most of the locations, right? So very, very good points. And again, as you rightly said, even as software developers and, the productivity is also, is facing a hit. And combined with the other challenges, what they are pointing about, being in a very, very secluded environment. Whereas the IT park is like an open community. You have, the water cooler connects. you have the play area, there's so much to do and relax, which is not available today at homes. So,
you are very right. She is very right, actually, Mr. Rajaram. In fact, if you ask me, that's why I used one statement in the beginning. We are culturally, socially connected people. We cannot work in isolation. We cannot live in isolation. See, howsoever facilitated you are with some seating arrangement, backrest, all fundas, it never works. You need face-to-face connect. You can have a virtual connect, but nothing like having Rajaram face-to-face, in the past. I have been associating with this FICCI events in the past so many years.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I'm feeling a little odd, actually. When Sudesh and you and many of us, we used to hug each other and used to meet, actually.
Correct.
And this is not welcome one, of course.
Yeah.
Even for one day, we feel like this. And you look at the people working.
Correct.
It's not possible. It's very, very unfortunate. Yes.
Correct. Maybe this is the first time maybe we are in a kind of different setting as well. Thanks. Always, we value your insights. We value your support. It has been, fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajaram. Thank you very much. And really appreciate it. But encourage youngsters, entrepreneurs to come forward in the construction industry. Lot to do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very, very inspirational.
Thank you.
Senthil.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all your inspirational, speech. Also, you have, thrown more light towards like what are the opportunities that we could get out of this whole, construction and infrastructural industry too. So thanks. Sir, Rajaram, sir, I would like to leave it to you for a vote of thanks.
Yeah. No, this is the most important part in our conference in terms of vote of thanks. I think this conference would not have been possible without the support of so many people. I would like to thank. It is a long list anyway. Please pardon me if I am taking some time. Our gold sponsor FSS and our theme sponsor STPA Chennai. We are really we truly appreciate your sponsorship support, which makes it available for more people to enjoy such conferences. We truly appreciate that. Our country partners, Estonia and Israel, who have done a fantastic job to collaborate with us, both in the exhibition as speakers. The knowledge partner, Frost and Sullivan, have been closely working with us. They prepared the knowledge paper, which is which will be available to everyone. It is so insightful, a very comprehensive summary they have done in a very short time. Truly appreciate Anand's team, Mr. Our technology partner, Create IT Systems. See, when we were talking about Atmanirbhar, I was telling you how the Atmanirbhar, our platform itself was created in a matter of 2 months, the exhibition platform, true Atmanirbhar story. And Bhaskar and his team have done a very good job. The exhibition platform is going to be available for 1 more month. So please visit anytime and understand and give your comments, interact with the people. There is also a live connection. You can interact live in a video with the stall person. So it has very good features, and it tells you even in other stalls, in the physical stall, for example, you may not be able to capture everyone who is coming there, right? Here, if they are visiting your stall, you will know. It is all recorded. So our digital outreach partner, Digital SEO, has been outstanding. They have been supporting us with not only the digital material needed for the conference, but also in social media. They have been promoting it very well. Our television partner, ETV Bharat, who has come out with so many over the last few days on behalf of not only publishing various material, but they have also interviewed our sponsors, like for example STPA and meeting FSS as well. So thanks very much for your support. Our journal partner, IJITC, they've been, always ready to publish our thought leadership, our interactions, our conferences. Not only that, they are kind enough to publish whatever the FICCI technology panel refers as good material. So I would encourage those who want to publish, who have something, some knowledge paper to publish. IJITC is the forum, right? At a fraction of the cost for international journal and at a quick time, because cutting a few delays, they are all they are very geared up to publish thought leadership. Our exhibitors, Monotech Systems, GoViva, Mr. Jangu Dalal is also as a speaker. He brings in a whole lot of thought leadership. He's a ex-MD of Cisco India. So we have Detect Technologies, Rise 3D Printing, Raksha Technologies. We want to thank all the exhibitors. I am sure they will get, they would have got a better ROI from this venture because we have positioned it very, very competitively. And I want to thank our guests and speakers, Honorable Minister for IT Department, Mr. Uday Kumar, Hansraj Verma, Chief Secretary, His Excellency, the Israel Consulate General for South India, Mr. Jonathan Zatka, Mr. Nagaraj Mailantla, Chairman of FSS, Dr. Sanjay Tyagi, the Director of STPI, Ms. Kavita Dutt, our Chairperson, FICCI, Mr. Sridharan, our Head State Council. We have Mr. Ramanan, the Atal Innovation Mission, Mr. Deepesh Nanda, who was the CEO of GE Gas and Power, Mr. Lakshmi Shankar from Twitter, US, Mr. Vinod Muthukrishnan from Cisco, US, Dr. N. Saravanan of Ashok Leyland, Mr. Rajendran Dandapani of Zoho, Mr. Santosh Mishra, E-Governance Commissioner, Dr. S. Prakash, Justice Talwant Singh, Mr. Sriram Iyer, Philip Metodi, CEO of Daitam Capital, Mr. Balasubramaniam, President, FSS, Mr. Anand of Frost and Sullivan, Mr. Jangu Dalal, Mr. Ajit Balakrishnan. Last but not the least, Ajit is the founder CEO of the internet company Rediff, rediffmail.com. So many people had emails before Google and others could come in. There was Yahoo Mail and then Rediff Mail. So many people who had only Rediff Mail. So that CEO, founder CEO, is a friend of Mr. Gemini Ramamurthy, and he was kind enough to accept our request and join us. Mr. Chandramouli of Shankar Nethralaya, who day in and day out does healthcare innovations. Ms. Akila Radhakrishnan, the UNICEF director based in South India, very, very insightful inputs she has given. Of course, our mentor and our good friend, Dr. C. Velan, who we don't consider as some external person. We consider him as part of FICCI itself, right? And our industry partners, there are about 19 industry partners who supported us, including the Institute of Directors, SPIN Chennai, ACM India, IEEE, CSI, PMI, CXO Club, CIO Club, Cyber Society of India, Cyber Security and Privacy Foundation, ISC2, Tamil Chamber of Commerce, Welltech TBI, TAI Chennai, EVIT, Women in IT, DESI, ISACA, Retailers Association of India, Hindustan Chamber of Commerce. So it has been a fantastic support from all of them. This is the most important part. See, a conference of this magnitude requires a whole lot of effort. There are people behind the scenes who have been working on, putting together this conference in terms of speakers, in terms of logistics, in terms of the platform. There are multiple, at least 10 to 15 different tracks which go on for putting together this conference. So, Mr. The team, really I want to thank Mr. Gemini Ramamurthy, who has helped us with a lot of connects in terms of speakers, and Mr. Bhaskaran, Mr. Srikanth, Mr. Susinder, Mr. Radhakrishnan, VRK, Mr. Radhakrishnan, Deutum Capital, Mr. Sridharan, of course, Fiki, Sudarshan. Sudarshan has been a core part from Fiki for this conference. Mr. Karthik, who has also contributed. Mr. Sendil Kumar Ramamurthy, I think the Kuttivilakku, the digital Kuttivilakku was a fantastic thing, appreciated by everyone. And also the online knowledge paper release. Those are all novelties. Not many people have done. Senthil contributed to that. Mr. Ramesh Bashyam, Mr. Kutralam of Digital SEO, and Ms. Anandi from his team, who has produced all the marketing materials. Ms. Vijay and Kalyani were the what do you call Vidwans. Jugalbandi, they did fantastic effort. Mr. Premanand of IJITC, last but not the least. Thank you very much, everyone. This conference would not have been such a success without your efforts. Thank you very much. So before we move on, there are some interesting things. Over to you, Senthil.
Yeah, thank you, sir. In fact, it was a very significant portion that we share our gratitude with all the stakeholders of the whole international conference to make it such a successful event. Thank you, sir. Sir, and this is now time for sharing our rewards for the best questions that were asked during the whole session. So sharing the rewards are also going to be virtual. So I'm just sharing the screen. So the best questions that were asked by following members of different plenary sessions are, I'll be just reading out, sir. So, I mean, all those respective members will have their Amazon gift card received to their email IDs. From plenary 1, we have Balki and Peter both sharing the best questions. And from plenary 2, we have Subhastri and Anant. And from plenary 3, we have VRK Aruba and Sriram Bhaskar. And from panel discussion, we have Chidambaram and Prasant Sinha. So thanks for all your best questions that have helped us. The questions even has been more insightful to bring a lot of inputs from our panelists with our speakers. Thanks for your contribution.
So they will be receiving the email of the gift card, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, apart from that, so we have the digital certificates for the exhibitors and organizing committee. I would request Dr. Velan to help us, make the people receive it. So I'll be just, running the certificates over the screen, and all the certificates will be received in the respective email IDs. So these are the certificates to the exhibitors. Sir Rajaram, sir, if you can read out the name, please.
Yeah, actually, you can quickly run through this.
Right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Just keep showing one by one.
Yeah. So these are shared with all our exhibitors, partners, and sponsors. Along with this, we have the digital certificates for the organizing committee too.
Yeah, yeah, you can run it through. Mr. Gemini Ramamurthy has been our tutor, Bhishma Pitamaha for all of us. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, Gemini sir, for all your mentoring and inputs and continuous engagement.
Support
at all stages. Yes, Senthil, I think you can go for the big one, final.
Yes, sir. And we have, raffle contest here as posted during all our discussions. We have raffle winner. Among all the participants, the raffle winner has been chosen by lot method, and we have the raffle winner here. We would request Dr. Valen to announce the name of the raffle winner. Sir, Valen sir, we'll be posting the name of the winner over the chat in your Zoom. If you can just announce their name, that would be pretty good, sir. Hello, Valen sir, can you please acknowledge? Sir, you are in mute, I suppose. Sorry, sir, I think.
Yes, come.
So can you unmute, sir?
Yeah. I think you have muted me. Okay. Yes. Congratulations. I have to get the name. Have you sent it already?
One second, sir. You're sending it to you. You're sending it to you in your chat.
Okay.
The Zoom.
Sir, you would have received that in your chat now, sir.
I'm just seeing. Yeah.
Zoom chat.
Yeah. Rajaram, please announce it yourself. I could not see. Please go ahead and announce it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can announce Senthil.
You can announce Senthil. Congratulations to that winner, actually. Yes. Please announce.
Show the
gift. It is Srikanth. The raffle winner is Mr. Srikanth, and he is winning an Amazon Echo Dot.
Oh, very good. Congratulations, Srikanth. Congratulations. Really appreciate it for your participation. Great. Congratulations.
Yeah, Srikanth, we will try to reach out to you over your mobile number to seek your residence address to have this product to you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thank you. This doesn't end up here. We have the exhibition open up till November 10, and all the visitors who visit the exhibition stalls and their footfalls are, being tracked. So we would appreciate you keep visiting the exhibitions, and we'll be presenting a gift to all the, to the winners who are winning the raffle on November 10th too. So that will be posted as part of the, website conference. So we are very happy in doing this. Also, as we said, the knowledge papers are now put up as part of the Tego stall in the website conference. So please feel free to download your copy, have a read through it, and enhance your knowledge. We appreciate that.
Also, the 3 policies from the government, Tamil Nadu government, in terms of blockchain, cyber security, and ethical AI, they are also being shared to everyone as part of this conference.
Yeah.
Senthil,
yes, sir. Yeah, it's time. The booklet for the exhibitors are also put up as part of the conference website. You please feel free to read through it. And now it's time that we give due respect with our national anthem. Let me just share the screen of the national anthem so we pay respect to it.
Senthil?
1 second, sir. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I would request we all stand up for our national anthem. as I share the screen.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the group photo, Senthil, you can announce.
Yeah. If we can just turn on our videos, if we all can stay here, we'll just try to align all the photographs as a tile, and we'll try to take a photographs. You can also take photographs in your own mobile phones as a remembrance. I mean, for people who doesn't know how to align the photographs as a tile, if you can just reach out to the right top corner, you can find gallery view. For people who do not know how to get this, just reach out to the top right corner where you will have view. Just press that and change it to gallery view. You will have, you could see everyone in gallery mode. I mean, the tiles will be, I mean, extending to the further screens too. So as much as people we have in videos, they will be put up in the first frame itself. So we'll take a picture of this. Thank you. Thanks for staying patient enough to listen to every panel members and all the discussions. Thanks for making this virtual conference more successful.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. If you are still being muted, you can just wave off your hands to say thank you. Yeah.
Looking forward to your participation in the next conference.
Yeah.
The next event.
Thank you. If the organizing committee members, if you can stay back, we would appreciate that.
Senthil?
Yes, sir.
Which Srikanth did you announce?
Yeah, I'll reach out with the email.
Yanaka இது வந்தது?
Illa, no, that's a different Srikanth.
தான பாத்த யார் அதுன்னு தெரியலையே.
One second. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just.
Read the mobile number.
Okay, there is a confusion. Yeah, right.
There's a name confusion.
Yeah, name confusion, but I'll also open it up. The email ID goes with 94srikanth@gmail.com.
Is he a participant?
Yeah, he is from ATPL organization with the designation as tech. His mobile number is 988406726.
No, was he on the chat or?
Yeah, we'll discuss.
Okay.
I think Rajaram sir, I think we need to connect again because There are few members who have not exited the whole bridge.
Sure.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, let us rejoin for a photo, quick photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's drop and rejoin.
Same ID. Same ID.
Yes, same login. Senthil, can you save all the chats? Senthil has quit. Yeah, you can leave meeting and then come back.
Hello. Yeah, Rajaraman has just informed that we can all log out and then look at the Tago WhatsApp group when we can reconvene. I think we will all leave the meeting now. Hello. Hello. Am I audible? I think we're all on mute. We're all on mute. Hello. 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 You're all on mute. Ramesh, VRK. I don't know if Senthil has muted all. So Rajaraman has advised for us to leave the meeting now and wait to see that our Tago WhatsApp group to see when we need to reconvene. So we can all leave the meeting. That's the message from Rajaram. Sindil, Rajaram வந்து மீட்டிங் இது பண்ண சொன்னாரு. I think the people are still there on the screen. நிறைய இல்ல கெஸ்ட் எல்லாம் நிறைய பேர் இருக்காங்க. Rajaram was telling he had asked you to close the connection itself. A lot of people are guest outside. ஒரு 10-15 பேர் இன்னும் 13 people are still there waiting. இல்ல இருக்காங்க. நம்ம ஆர்கனைசேஷன் கமிட்டி 2 பேர் இருந்தாங்க. I suggested to Rajaram we will reconvene sometime in the afternoon or evening for a photo. யார் பண்ணிருக்காங்க அப்படி? பாத்துக்கோ, நீங்க பாத்துட்டு என்ன பண்ணுவோம் பண்ணுங்க. Rajaram, thanks. As what he has suggested, I think we were already come out. What Rajaram has suggested is we look at the TIGO WhatsApp group for us to reconvene again to take that photograph, group photo and all that. Okay. இப்போ எல்லாருமே இருக்காங்களே, அவுட் சைடர்ஸ் நிறைய பேர் இருக்காங்க. எப்படி எடுப்பீங்க? இல்ல தெரியல. I don't know whether you can do it quickly. ஆனா என்ன பாருங்க, you can do it another 5-10 minutes.